Hey guys, welcome to this amazing night. How's everybody doing today? Hello, Chaka. How's it going? White Wolf, The Darkest Sky is My Mind, and everybody else that I missed on here. PPR, how you doing? Um, so we're starting off tonight, interviewing Orange County, New York Paranormal, and I'm just gonna put this up real quick. I know I gotta. So how's everything going with you, Orange? Obviously Dan. Um, Instead of saying the whole name, and
No, it's fine. Dan's fine. It's easier.
so Dan, what inspired you to name your channel, Orange County, New York Paranormal?
Well, because we live in Orange County, New York, and I'm not being a jerk by saying that.
Yeah.
That's you know, there's some very creative names out there for paranormal groups, and you got a bunch of them in the comment section right now, actually.
Mhm.
And we just couldn't decide, and we had done ghost hunt stuff just as groups and stuff. And we decided to branch out and do our own thing.
Mhm.
Told my wife, "You got a better one. Come up with it before the first time we ever go anywhere." And that time came and went. And then so we just Orange County. We couldn't be Orange County Paranormal because there's an Orange County in every single state, and there's an Orange County Paranormal in a lot of states. California probably the most prominent. There's one in Indiana too. But Orange County, New York Paranormal just made sense. And my brother-in-law designed all the logos and stuff, and we liked them. So, and I like it because it's kind of to the point. We're both like corporate kind of people, professional kind of people, so I kind of liked it. It's kind of square. It's in terms of the logos and everything, so it worked for us.
All right. Can you let us know more about? I know you were telling me yesterday that you're saying that you do group events, other than paranormal.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do mostly, private investigation stuff, but a lot of the locations that we have, they have us come in and do speaking engagements, showing the evidence we discovered, mostly in the location we're in, but some of the greatest hits, I guess you might want to call it.
Yeah.
Because there's as there's a lot of people out there who are interested in this kind of thing and may not go do that kind of thing or want to invest the time, but they love hearing about it. I mean, look how many paranormal shows there are on television. I mean, there's so many of them for a reason. People
Exactly.
love it. And these events, man, they sell out all the time. And sometimes we do, sometimes, and that's the location. That's not us. That's just proper marketing from the location that's doing it. But sometimes there's a ghost hunt after. We'll bring 6 or 7 people. Of course, in COVID world, not so much. But a lot of times it's just a dinner and a presentation and good conversation. But we do mostly October because that's when interest peaks. That's when most of these things happen.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds pretty interesting, man. Like to talk to a lot of people on stage and stuff like that. And but you might I think. Well, man, do you get like a stage can't talk stage fright and stuff like that?
No, I've been a professional. I've been a corporate sales trainer for years, so I'm as close to a professional public speaker as you can get. So I'm used to addressing 100, 200 people in a large room for sales purposes. So 50 people who are really excited to hear about what I have to say, that's kind of a walk in the park. Because of that, because I'm just used to doing that professionally.
Okay. How long does your group events last?
It depends on the location. I mean, they're the ones who host it. It's up to them. We don't charge for any of it, so they just tell us how long they want us up there. Normally, we talk for between an hour to an hour and a half. Now there's an audio visual component. We have the projector. We put in the speakers and everything. My wife, who's the co-founder and co-lead of this, we always have the same joke that I always think they want me to talk too long and people are going to get bored. And she said, "When's the last time anybody got bored with paranormal evidence that you're showing?" And she's always right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say hour and a half. And then the ghost hunts, if the place is having them, they can go, till whenever, just to whenever the location wants it to.
Yeah. I know that a lot of people are skeptical as well. Like when you show them something on the screen, they're like, Well, that could just be some mirror or something like that's around, you know. And I know you debunk too as well. How do you discuss them? How do you discuss it to the people that don't believe?
Well, that's interesting because if you don't believe something, most people are inclined to just hold their position. If somebody's willing to have a conversation about it, they don't have to come to an agreement. Sometimes there's an agreement to disagree, but if we're both going to be absolutists on the subject, then nobody gets anywhere. That's kind of the world we live in, isn't it? Where so we try to explain things as easily as possible. But if somebody doesn't believe something we show them, you also can't get defensive about it. You either believe what I'm telling you and showing you, and you buy my explanation, or you do not. Just one of the things we want to make sure is that we put most of the time, like almost every group who does what we do, is spent trying to debunk things. I mean, we throw out most of the clips because I've thrown out evidence that I thought that I would have loved to have put out there but there were just questions around it, whether it was a car driving by or whether it was, there's a mirror over there. And even though it wasn't really near there, I'm just going to throw it out because of that. Is that radio interference on the spirit box? You know what? I'm throwing it out. We err on the side of only putting the stuff out there that we are really confident that we can explain in a way that will get us the lead. Now, there's always somebody. I mean, there's always somebody who thinks I have a special effects budget and I can afford to fake things, as if this isn't time consuming enough.
Exactly. Especially in the investigation, like a skeptic investigating with y'all, and
that's good. I don't mind that. Well, they're willing to come along. That's awesome. In fact, when people comment on our videos and say, well, that place has never been haunted, I've lived there my whole life. If they're respectful and they don't sound like, and they're not calling me too many names, our first setting is, hey, next time we're there, do you want us to reach out to you? You can come and investigate with us. And most of the time they don't answer back to that.
Because you think about it, you have a skeptic working when going to go investigate with y'all, like, you're good. Their first impression is going to be personal, a personal experience. They might hear something in their ear. They might smell something, see something, and that might change your life forever. Hey, what's up, Sean? What's going? Sorry. Oh, go ahead. Okay, so let's see. What do you do? Let's start with what do you do on your personal time away from the paranormal, so everybody to get to know you a little bit.
It's amazing how time consuming all of this is, because my wife and I both have full-time jobs. So I'm a sales trainer, manager. She's a teacher. So it takes up a lot of our time, but she does a lot of reading. We have an 11-year-old daughter, so that takes up some time. I follow hockey. I'm a big hockey fan. I live in New York, but I'm a Jersey team guy. And I collect old video game consoles from the 70s and 80s. It's a random weird hobby too. I must have a thing for antiquities. But this takes up an immense amount of time. Not only the investigating, but the keeping up of social media pages, the creating of videos, content, and just communicating with people and trying to book places, because access is the biggest challenge of all of this.
How hard is that to book something? Because
it's a pain in the ass.
all I see is just like, oh yeah, I got the location, but it must be pretty hard though.
It's very hard, and I think every group could tell you a very similar story. I mean, some of them are easy. You just write them a check for $700 and you're in. But it's very hard sometimes to get places that have never really done it before to do it. It's hard to call up a place and say, hey, we'd like to do this, and have them say, oh yeah, come on in. Some places embrace their paranormal history. Some of them don't. And some places, to be honest, have a paranormal group they've worked with for a long time, and they just don't want to work with anybody else. And we run into all of that. Most of the time, it's the locations just want a lot of money. And, the iconic ones especially, which is why we don't do them often. But we do them. But we do try to find places that fascinate us, but also places that'll let us in.
Yeah.
And access is the constant battle.
So what does 700 give you when you're there?
They open the door. they, they open the door. You sign your life away on a waiver,
Yes.
and they give you 45 pages of rules of things you can't do while you're there.
Yeah.
In fact, there are some, I mean, we do videos on every single investigation we do, and there are iconic locations that will charge us extra for the ability to make that video. One place we went, they wanted $75 extra if we wanted to do a Facebook Live video while we were there. So, sometimes, you pay up front, and then if you want to share what you found, you have to do it all over again. I don't mind it. But we tend to not do the iconic places because I would need a third job to investigate a major place as often as we'd like to.
Well, you should say, is there lunch involved in this? It's $700.
No. They charge $1 for a bottle of water when you're there. But now, to be fair, no, nothing's free, man. To be fair, though, the iconic locations are all right. Like, we've done Hillview Manor. We're planning on doing Rolling Hills in the near future because that's where our adventure started. But I like this. I don't want to call them obscure because it sounds insulting, but I like the more diamond in the rough locations. We found some of our favorite places we go. Like, they're in books, they're listed, but they're not the places that everybody would flock to. And we found that they are the best places to go.
Yeah, that's true. So what got you interested into the paranormal?
It's strange. Like, everybody's origin story, it probably sounds the same. I did have a paranormal experience or two as a child, but nothing is, I mean, you hear some people talk, they had like unbelievable things happen to them, like getting tortured by a spirit, getting this. Mm-hmm. I was interested at a young age. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania in a town that was very active in the Underground Railroad. Mm-hmm. And from where we lived, our housing development was all corn for hundreds of years. They built the housing development 40 years ago now.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you'd get a feeling, and you would see what looked like something running, like a white figure running. Wow. And it was, you could see through it. And I was like, oh, well, that, and as a kid, you're like, oh, that must be somebody running that must be a spirit from the Underground Railroad or something. You don't think much of it. But it happened maybe 2 or 3 times in 20 years of living in that neighborhood. And then, it's funny. I like most people, when I was in college, I started watching some of the TV shows again. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really cool. And I started reading books on the subject and magazines, and I just kept up on it. And it wasn't until, my wife many years later, as an anniversary gift, bought us tickets to Rolling Hills Asylum for a ghost hunt. Because she said to me, Dan, you've always said you wanted to try it. You wanted to see, because that's the thing, man. You want to know, will you run toward it or away from it? And until you have that moment, you do not know.
You don't know. Yeah.
And that was the night that this all began, because I was in a pitch black hallway alone. I was sitting in a wheelchair and something grunted in my ear, and I got up and I went charging after it. And that was where it started as a kid, but it wasn't anything majorly profound. I just remember these things that happened as a kid, but the interest happened more in my 20s and early 30s.
Do you remember? When you heard that grunt in your ear? Did you remember how you felt? Coldness, maybe your
no, and it's funny because if you watch TV, you're like, oh, I should feel a cold spot. I should feel this. Now, we had no equipment. We were woefully unprepared, but I'm sitting there. I was feeling really comfortable, and I'm like, should I be this comfortable in a place this haunted? Maybe I like this. And then it just was, and just boom, shot up and ran toward the direction that it came from. So yeah, I don't recall. We didn't even have an EMF detector at the time, so I couldn't even measure what it was. But no, I don't remember the hot or cold thing for that first one.
Okay, cool. So let's go into, how do you start your investigations?
Well, that's the investigation process starts long before. My wife, Emily, actually does all of the prep work, all of the reaching out to locations, all of the communication. She is that's I have one of those Connect things too. Uh,
I'll get that.
she does all of the prep work. I'll address that in a minute if that one.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
So because she's infinitely nicer of a person. Like, I spend my whole day writing corporate emails. So when I communicate in an email, I sound corporate. Like Emily sounds like somebody you'd want to talk to when they reach out to you. But that's when it starts. And then you get the community, if we reach out to 20 places, 15 of them ignore you. 3 of them say that'll be $1,500. And 2 of them go, oh yeah, let's talk. Yeah. And, and then, once we book it, then she starts doing research. Who lived in the house? Where? I mean, some of these places are nice because there's already a history.
Yeah.
There that you can draw on. Okay. There's experiences you can draw on. It's that phone interview. It's that in-person interview. It's trying to figure out where the hot spots are. It's very rare we're the first group to investigate somewhere. So we go online, we look and see, hey, did somebody do a video on this place? Did somebody investigate? If they did, what did they find? Where can they, where is that? So all that prep happens, weeks before we even go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, the day of, or because, the shows can go someplace 3 days before they investigate. We can't. Those of us who work can't. Usually the day of, we'll go up and usually if we know the spirit or spirits that we're trying to communicate with, we'll stop by the local cemetery to see if we can't visit their graves. See if we can't pay our respects. We've left a flower or two, just to say, hey, we're going to be at the place where you were. And if you want to come and talk to us, we will be able to, help you. So, then we go to the location and, depending on, we'll interview people. We've probably talked to most everybody already. One of the things we do a lot of is we invite owners and staff to join us. And they're usually a little surprised when we do that, which is weird. But, so if we have to prep them for what to do and things like that, but all that prep work happens before I even open up an equipment suitcase. Like all that stuff, like you have to have it, in your mind. Okay, who am I talking to? What am I doing? It's like going in for an interview, like a job interview. You have to know about the building. You have to know. And if you don't know and you skip that step, you're groping around in the dark, literally. You don't know who to talk. You don't know what names to maybe invoke. You don't know, we went to one of the locations we investigated, the Bull's Head Inn in Cobleskill. The woman who lived there, who died in the early 1900s, she was a member of the Anti-Temperance League.
Oh, wow.
They turned her bedroom into the bar of the restaurant.
What?
So if we didn't know that, I wouldn't have sat in the bar most of the night going, they turned your bedroom into a bar. How do you feel about that? And I asked that question about 20 different variations. And we did catch a couple EVPs of her voice, we believe, objecting to some things. But yeah, all that prep work that leads up before you even set up a camera, all that prep work is absolutely essential. And I think if any group you've had on here has probably said the same.
How long does it take you to set up your equipment?
Much less time than it used to. Everybody's a noob when they start. It used to take like 2 hours to set up cameras and stuff, because we have 6 to 8 cameras that we use. The cameras we use are these are the full spectrum GoPro 4K cameras, and they're that kind of equipment, you want to keep it safe. And it used to be set it up there. Okay, put on the tripod, put on the battery. But I started like assembling my own like rigs and stuff. I mean, I didn't build this, but I sort of jerry rigged it together, where you've got the light, you've got this, you've got the battery, you charge this, the camera goes in here. And just being able to create those kind of shortcuts, I can now probably set up a whole investigation from a technical standpoint in less than 45 minutes. But we do have a nerve center that we use sometimes, which is a fancy term for DVR night vision security system that goes to a monitor that we use to, if we're doing that, it'll take an extra half an hour because that thing's a pain in the ass, which is why we don't use it all the time. We only really use it when we're live streaming the nerve center camera on Facebook to get people involved. Hey, one of our followers joined us.
Yeah, Don, how's it
John.
going?
Um, my favorite piece of equipment. There were some other questions too I want to get to, but
Hey,
my
Doris.
favorite piece of equipment. Whew,
Damn it, I
no,
can't answer that
my
question
least
now.
favorite is the spirit box. I think I love the, you know what? I love the Ovilus. I just do. It's really cool. It's such a nifty piece of equipment. I mean, it's probably a cliche answer, and everybody has it, and everybody loves it. They've all seen it on television, but we have caught so many instances where the Ovilus will say something, and then we'll pick up an EVP of the same word,
Yeah.
like 5 to 10 seconds later, which just validates that thing. That happened in our last investigation, where the Ovilus said David, and then we picked up the name David not 5 seconds later. But
Wow.
um, so thanks, John. Appreciate it. Somebody asked a question that you put up there about a Connect. They bought one of the Connect things.
Hold on, give me a
It's way
second.
back there. I wanted to there. So the Connect thing, I had a follow up on that. I don't know how easy it is to do follow up. Does she just have? Do you just have the Connect, like the Microsoft Connect, or do you have an SLS? Because there's two different answers to that based on what you have. Because just having the Connect piece, you have to do a couple of things. Like I have like 3 of them, and I've sort of built our own SLS camera off of them because it's actually not hard. I don't like the SLS very much, but you can build your own with a Connect, a cord, and a $50 tablet bought at Walmart instead of spending $400 on it. It's just not as mobile. But we've used it. We've never caught anything from it. But it seems to be very popular. It seems like that's the one all the websites that sell paranormal equipment, the SLS is the one they're really highlighting lately.
Yeah. So what do you think about trigger items? Now we're talking about this now. No, it's good.
No, it's fine. Trigger objects. Oh my, well, trigger objects are interesting. So
he is.
Trigger objects are interesting. Thank you. Because I love them, but we never catch anything. Now we've tried them. It seems like we always use liquor. Now whether or not that's because we're basement alcoholics or not, I don't know. But it seems like everywhere we go, like for example, when we did the Hotel Broad Albin, which is way upstate New York, it was opened as a quack clinic for alcoholics.
What? Wow.
And so when we went there, we basically were saying we're trying to tempt the spirits with alcohol. To say, it's hey, we got a drink for you. We got a drink for you.
Right.
And the nice thing about them not touching it was that I got the drink when the night was over. But we've used alcohol a lot. Nothing. But here's the thing. The toys, we don't get movement on the toys, but we've had spirits respond to us use children where we believe there are children to toys. Like we investigated a place shortly before Christmas and we brought toys. And I said in one room, hey, we brought you some Christmas presents, and we pick up an EVP on a camera in the other room saying, can we have one?
Wow.
And then shortly thereafter, they said, thank you. They never moved it. They never did that, but they did respond to it being there. It just, it didn't work totally. It worked in the way trigger objects are supposed to work. It just didn't.
Yeah.
I like the comments coming. I have such ADHD. I have such OCD, excuse me, that every time a comment comes up, my brain stops and I look.
I noticed that. Okay, so how about do you have REM pods? How about REM pods? How do they work?
Well, it's funny. There are a billion REM pods.
I know, no,
and they're all really they're too expensive. This crap's too expensive. I actually found a place in out of England called Paranormal Electronics, I believe, and I've started. That's absolutely right. You got to have the software updated, but that actually do a really nice job, and they're not that expensive. I actually just bought this one from them. Except that it's driving me crazy.
That's different.
The idea is if I leave it on, it's going to go crazy with me around it. But the closer, if it senses anything within the antenna, it's going to make a loud noise. Just to let you know, energy fields, anything physically going in there, anything that interrupts that electromagnetic field around it is going to cause that. The nice thing about the one from Paranormal Electronics is that it has you can't really see it, and my hand's bothering it here. It has the temperature on it.
Okay.
Which most models don't have. Now, because it's from England, the temperature is in Celsius, but I can live with that. And it's about half the cost of the REM pods that we had been buying in the United States. And the quality is really good. I've actually bought a lot of stuff from them ever since I got them. But they're interesting. The most famous clip that we show at some of our events, because it involves the owner of Grapevine Farms. He was in the basement and a REM pod went off, and he didn't know it was there, and it scared the hell out of him, and he ran up the stairs because he didn't know what it was.
Wow.
And I mean, we have to play it every time we do an event there. They won't allow us back. His wife insists on that.
Yeah.
But no, REM pods are good. REM pods I find are better when you put them in a place you're not planning to be, but because that sound will clue you in that you need to go there. There's something going on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we just started getting more of them because I found a way to buy them at not $200 a clip, because I have other things I'd rather spend that kind of money on. But now that I found a place that makes really good quality ones for less, I've been buying stuff from there.
Exactly. I know you're talking about the Phasma, the Phasma box.
Oh, yeah, the app we talked to. Yeah, I don't use a lot of the apps. I'm seeing in the chat there's some app conversation going on. Mm-hmm. The two apps that we use, and the one of them is not for Apple. It won't work on anything was it iOS, I think, is the operating system. It's called the Phasma box. I think some of the agreed. It's so. What's interesting about it? We were exposed to it we went to before we did the whole paranormal thing as just ourselves. We used to go to a lot of group stuff, like everybody. They sell 30 tickets, show up, and hunt an old jail.
Yeah.
So one of the hosts used it, and I was skeptical on it because it uses chopped up sound bars basically and allows spirits to kind of put sounds and words together, a lot kind of like a mixture of the Ovilus and just a regular recorder. And a lot of gibberish, a lot of weird sounds like brrr, a lot of reverb. That was a good impression right there. You don't get a lot of some of it. You just get a lot of gibberish. Well, as I was reviewing the evidence, the Phasma box said very slowly, like in a reverb voice, "I want you." It's like, "I want you." And then 6 seconds later on our digital recorder, I caught an EVP of "I want you." And since that first time, now being told that in a prison is unnerving, but ever since that first time, we have had that happen a dozen times, at least. And to me, that validates it. See, I never liked that thing until we started getting those kind of reactions. You know what else the Phasma box is good for is when you're hosting an event. Most people who go to a ghost hunt event aren't as happy as the rest of us are to sit. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks,
aren't as happy to sit in a room with nothing going on for 2 hours. The Phasma box it works like an SB7 in that you get like a lot of instant feedback. So it's kind of fun when you have 3 or 4 people in a room who aren't used to doing this, and they're all trying to guess what it's saying. And it creates some rather funny moments. My favorite Phasma box story happened at one of the last event we ever did before before COVID knocked all that out. In the before time, in the long ago, as I call it, on the bed, we had a woman who comes to a lot of our events, and she was laying in one of the rooms, and she said she felt something. She felt like a hand going up her leg. And one of the people said, "Oh, ooh, they're getting fresh." And the Phasma box said, "Finish." And then we just broke out laughing because that's just one of the funniest. That's just one of the funniest responses you could get. I put that in a video of like the funniest moments that happened to us last year because it was fantastic. Good night, Sandra.
Night. Sorry for nerving you, man. How about I know there's a lot of EMF meters out there. Okay.
Yes.
And I know in some because I know you got to set up your nerve center and everything else. You connect computers and whatever you need to connect. So. When you go into an investigation, let's say it's not a paid one where you go into, let's say you go to like a property you haven't heard from, if it's abandoned, right? Like with the EMF meters, like does it have to be any electricity there to interfere with the investigation?
Electricity can interfere. We don't do the abandoned places thing. I'm not afraid of ghosts. I am afraid of wild animals. So one of the, but the yeah, obviously, I mean, there's a million kind of EMF detectors. But electricity will deal with, like, I can't turn on a Mel meter in my office because all of my electricity is very close to. I'm probably getting brain damage from all this stuff because it will always pick up a base setting number. Where they come in handy is when you're in an abandoned place, or well, not abandoned, or you're a place that isn't populated or open, or a place with no power. That's where a Mel meter or a K2 can really tell a very interesting story. Because with businesses that are open, you can get a false positive. One of our favorite places to investigate is a place called Grapevine Farms, and one of our first times there, we were holding the K2 meter, which is an EMF meter with lights on it. We were holding it up to the wall, and it was flashing in front of a picture of one of the family members. And they're like, "Oh, wow, what's going on there?" And we're like, "Well, what's behind that picture?" And it turned out like their security system wiring was behind the picture.
Oh, okay.
So you can get a lot of false positives. That's why, I told this story recently to somebody in Rolling Hills Asylum, which is where our adventure started. There's no power, and they have these chairs, the beauty salon chairs with the old-fashioned one with the hair drying bowl.
Oh yeah,
and we stuck an EM meter up there, and it was picking up it was picking something up. That thing hasn't been plugged in for 30 years. That's interesting. But yeah, so it gets a little tricky, and there's a million of them, from Mel meters to K2s to just simple ones you'd use around the house. It's one of the least expensive and easiest pieces of equipment to pick up when you're first starting, which is why we actually had it on our first investigation.
And that's kind of hard because just like anyone that hasn't used the EMF meter, at least the first one. I mean, with me, I would have been like, so if it goes off, that means there's a spirit in front of me. I mean, even though the lights turned off, there's no lights. I mean, does it mean there's a spirit right there next to you?
No, I mean,
wiring.
I knew there was no power, and I still hit the floor looking underneath it just to make sure it wasn't plugged in or there was something I didn't know about. And then we looked behind it to see, because there are some metals, and some material that can cause false positives. It's why we don't use them as much as you probably see other groups use, because there's just most of the places we investigate are businesses that have power. So you get so many false positives. In our last investigation, every time I put the REM pod on the floor in this one room, it went off. It wasn't mean there was a spirit laying on the ground. We went in the basement and there were power lines underneath.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean,
so it can affect that
in that situation, though. I mean, it's kind of tricky.
That's the fun part. We have more fun figuring out stuff isn't paranormal than we do when it is. I'm more excited to say, well, that wasn't anything, than weirdly. It's an odd way of being wired, but I'm sure most of the groups you have are kind of wired similarly.
And especially I mean, a lot of people think that just because a chair's thrown at you violently or a door slam, it's a demon. Like, I mean, come on.
No.
Think about that.
Well, dealing with the cell phones do affect them, Sean. You're absolutely right.
I was gonna put that out, man.
So it's just, I mean, when a door closes, I'm not worried about it being Beelzebub. I'm worried about whether I ran into the door or not. Okay, what could I have done? What could this have done? I have terrible dance moves, and I have so many clips of me on video jumping up and down trying to prove that something didn't happen. You just that the EM to the point in the comments too, like the EM detectors, they're just so many false positives. That's funny. The walkie-talkie one, somebody just commented that radio walkie-talkies will affect them. I actually replaced all of our walkie-talkies because they were affecting our REM pods so much. That's funny that's I actually did that, Corey. That's exactly what I had to do. But yeah, it's just, look, I don't, I haven't run into Satan anywhere yet. I don't intend to. And, and I think sometimes we do that. I think, shutting a door if my wife slams the door on me, which is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
She's saying, get away from me. if a spirit slams the door on you, they might just be trying to get your attention. It's the thing they have the energy to move.
Have you ever been attacked?
You know,
Scratches?
what was that again? I'm sorry.
Have you ever been attacked? Scratches?
I was scratched at Hillview Manor,
Mhm.
which is funny because we actually caught an EVP saying it was my fault when my wife and I were talking about it. Thank you, Just E.
She's awesome.
We but no, you know what though? We don't provoke, and we don't. I mean, sometimes you can't help it, but no, I've been scratched one time, but no, I mean, we've never been like attacked in any way that I thought was anything other than just them trying to get our attention.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people say like, "Oh, there's 3 marks on me." That's that's the
Oh, the
mark.
Trinity stuff.
Yeah, Trinity. Yeah, or they're the knocks and everything else. Have you ever tried that method before?
No, I don't. I don't try to open a door I'm not qualified to close.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, again, I felt uncomfortable in places. I've heard 3 knocks, but I've heard 4 knocks. I've heard 2 knocks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hear 3 knocks in a basement where I think there's a child spirit or I think there's a woman spirit and go, oh nope, Satan. Um, Everything you kind of have to put the whole picture together, which is why we spend so much time reviewing evidence, because you don't know what's going. There's 2 investigations, Eli. There's the one you experienced and there's one your equipment experiences.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how it all comes together. How it all comes together when you're in that review process, which is actually for me the most fun part of the process.
I
agree, Corey.
I'm sorry. Has your like your equipment, has it ever malfunctioned before?
Oh, that's what it does. That's the purpose of paranormal equipment, is to malfunction when you don't want it to.
Yeah, of course. Of course, they drain your battery and stuff like that. Of course,
Oh no, it loves to not work.
Right.
It loves to. The battery pack loves for me to have not connected it correctly. In our last investigation, a door closed behind me, and I didn't catch it because the battery pack wasn't connected properly. Wow. I would love to say that was paranormal. No, I'm an idiot. I didn't hook. It's a new camera, and I didn't hook it up correctly. It's just, yeah. Breeze. So. But the equipment loves to malfunction. We used to have radios, and every time we used them, it would set off half the equipment we had. We had to get rid of the radios. I have a Mel meter that used to register like 31. It would register a 31 in an Amish home. That's how bad the sensor was on it. So yeah, we would, you're always tweaking, you're always fixing. I have watched the video on how to calibrate. I'm on YouTube. That's half the time I spend on YouTube is learning how to calibrate half this crap, and it lives to malfunction. And no matter what you buy, no matter how much of it you buy, there's always something there's always one glitch. There is one glitch for every investigation, and it's always something different. And I don't think it's paranormal. I just think it's Murphy.
Yeah. I know you were telling me about the glow stick method, the trick.
Yeah. Yeah, there's it's interesting.
It's good, Carmack Brothers. Thanks for coming.
Evening, guys. In some places, Rolling Hills and is famous for this, but Hillview Manor was too. And in both places, what we did was we bought some simple roadside glow sticks. I actually have my desk drawer right here. And what you do is we put about four of them at the end of the hallway, and then we used a regular camera, because the night vision cameras don't always pick everything up. They don't pick up color. In that situation, you want to only see the glowing at the end of the hallway. You don't want to see anything else. And then what you do is you look for something to interfere with that light. Apparently at Hillview, in the north section of Hillview, it happens all the time. Where they'll pick up that light will get blocked because shadows are moving in between. Didn't happen for us that night, but it apparently is something that happens a lot. So yeah, we'll use the glow sticks for stuff like that. But usually the place has to be pretty big, to allow for that kind of movement in between. Like both asylums, nursing homes, they're perfect for that kind of thing.
Especially the UV laser lights. You showed me one before we came on. You mind?
This stupid thing. There. Yeah, I don't have a lot of luck with those. You're supposed to use them with a fog machine, from what I've been told. The owner of Grapevine Farms actually has a fog machine that he wants to hook up one night. And the idea is, in the stream, if you see something interfere with the actual line of the laser, not just the points that you can see when we're in a room like this.
Yeah.
My favorite version of this is actually something we just got about 6 months ago. It's you have the laser grid. You've probably seen the red laser grids.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this has a display on it that it actually can take the temperature within that laser grid. And it has a display that'll show you the shape and temperature of anything that moves within that laser grid area.
Oh, wow.
We've only used it a couple of times. It's really interesting. There's some places I'm dying to try it in that we just haven't gotten back to since we got it.
Exactly.
But laser grids are interesting. We haven't had a lot of luck with the handheld one. Half the time I'm using this as a flashlight. If I just can't find my flashlight, I'll just use it to make sure I don't fall going up the stairs.
Exactly.
But with all equipment, you can have a piece of equipment forever, and you'll catch one thing on it. You know what? That makes it perfectly worth it.
Exactly. How about the flashlight method? We get like 3 flashlights and you communicate with the spirits.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of that because if we do that kind of thing, we have like 4 or 5 K2s that we use, and I prefer to use the K2 because then if one of them does light up or one of them moves, then you can just say, hey, can you do that again? By the way, the laser grid thing, if you got the one I'm talking about, if you're ever filming it, don't use a night vision camera because it can't tell the difference between red for heat and blue for cold. Use like your iPhone or a cell phone or a regular camera if you're filming the display on that. I learned that the hard way.
I'll remember that.
Well, somebody said they just got their laser grid. I don't know if it's the one I'm talking about or not, but
I'll just put up your links again.
I'm good with. I spend a lot of my life on Zoom. I'm good with the comments.
No, I like communicating with everybody too. What's up, Eric? How's it going? Erica said hi.
Hey, Erica, how you doing?
Yeah, because I always see with everybody doing it on all the investigators and stuff like that. They do like talk to spirits through the lights, through the what do you call it, the what do you call it, the flashlight method.
Yeah.
And I see that and I'm just like, that's interesting, talking to them like that,
Yeah, we haven't done a lot with it because we use the EM stuff, but I've seen it. It's interesting. We just haven't really, I can't speak too intelligently on it because we just haven't really done it.
A phone call. Different. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking too. So during an investigation, like let's say you have, because I know you investigate with the team, right? So do you guys share each other's experience after or during?
Well, most of the time, team, it's odd. We have a group of people we have like a family of people we investigate with, but we don't really have it's weird because we don't consider them a team. My wife and I are the lead people, but we have, Aaron, Pedro, Jess, Tim and Tracy who investigate with us, but it's not like, hey team, everybody, let's have a committee meeting. It's like, hey, we're going here. Who wants to come? Most of the time while we're investigating, we will be in pairs. I know I named 5. I know I named it even though sometimes we have 3 people, sometimes we have 2. A lot more. It just started out with just Emily and I. So yeah, you have to, because if you have to share it as it goes, because if there's a hot spot, then we need to focus on it. I mean, whenever you investigate a location, 100% of it isn't going to be hot that night. 10% of it may have something going on, and that's where you want to focus your energy. You have to, because your investigation strategy is going to change. Yeah. Sometimes during the middle of it, you'll be like, you know what? I think I want to just go in there by myself for a little bit. I think I just want to go in and see, or, hey, I felt something down there. Can you go down and see what you experience while you're down there? And all that stuff. So it's, it varies, but you have to communicate. Communication is key. I mean, that's, not only for the sake of an investigation, but for safety reasons, you have to be constantly communicating.
Exactly.
The reason we all have radios is so we don't end up at the bottom of a stairwell and nobody can hear us.
Exactly, because when you go into a haunted location, everything's dark. It's completely dark,
It's
and I know
interesting.
you were telling me like the little screen. You go, oh wait a minute, where am I going? Like and
Well, you watch the TV shows and you can see, like
yeah,
you can see fine, but what we're seeing is a pitch black room with maybe a little bit of ambient light. So, you know, it's amazing we don't fall or trip or run into things more than we do. Now, granted, I edit all the videos, so if I run into something, you bet you're not seeing it. But
yeah,
at the same
exactly.
time, I've actually recently started trying to learn how to walk using nothing but the small screen on my handheld camera,
Oh
and
wow.
that could be going better.
Well, it's kind of tricky because like you're looking through a little screen and you're like, I can't trip over that. Oh damn, you know what I mean? Because it's for me, it would be too little. Just look at every little thing because the area is huge. You don't know who you're gonna bump into when you're walking.
Well, it's also, I mean, stairs are my big. The last home we investigated had
Yeah.
this really tricky staircase
Mhm.
where the side room was like about a foot and a half drop to the landing.
Mhm.
And I just was convinced I was going to end up at the bottom of that stairwell if I wasn't careful. But
Yeah.
no, you've got to just watch every step, because most of the places we go, there's some places are businesses that if we trip and fall, it's going to cost us some money. But other times, if you're in a place that's abandoned or dangerous, like you take a wrong step at a place like Hillview Manor, and you can get seriously hurt. Those places they're not falling apart, but they're not in mint condition.
Yeah. And they're not. Especially if they're being restored as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of. Let's go into like the witching hour. A lot of people say it's the time of the witching hour is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. What do you think about that? Do you think that haunted is haunted any time of the day or night?
Well, I mean, the paranormal happens 24 hours a day. I mean, there's two reasons people do it at night. One, because they want to be scared, and two, because the equipment works better. We're the latter. There is something to be said for electromagnetic energy, which, spirits are said to draw off of. And I'm not an astronomer or an astrologist, but they
Yeah.
do say, I believe it's 3 a.m. is where the most energy is in the air.
Mhm.
Also, they say that, and I can't prove it, I haven't done a lot with it, but they say after thunderstorms too, there's a lot of spiritual activity but look, it's all going to be, look, we've caught just as much evidence during the day than at night, but we investigate at night because there's less noise pollution and less light pollution. Businesses don't want you investigating while they're open, so we investigate at night.
Yeah.
If you want fewer, how much evidence I've thrown out in my life because a car drove by at the same time an EVP was recorded? That happens
Oh
a lot
yeah.
less
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning than it does at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The
Yeah.
spirits don't go to bed. They're just as active any time of the day.
Yeah.
But we investigate at night just because the equipment works better and because there's less noise pollution, light pollution. And there is something to be said about that 3 a.m. I can't prove it, but that's what I've read. The 3 a.m. seems to be the time with electromagnetic energy being the most prevalent. But
Exactly.
haunted is haunted. I think somebody even said that in the comment. Haunted is haunted.
I know, right? So okay, it's just like people say about orbs and auras and all the other good stuff with crystals and stuff. Like, have you ever seen any auras that had faces in them or arms?
No, I mean we caught every shape, size, and and style of light anomaly and orb or mist or whatever you want to call it. There are a million
Yeah.
classifications. But at the same time, it's just you look at them closely. I'm very interested in their shape and their flight pattern.
Yeah.
A light, you look at enough of these things, you're like, okay. And the ones I isolate now are the ones that really have a very distinctive movement or a very distinctive shape to them. Some of them are very wispy looking. Some of them, kind of, they do different shapes and forms. And they spiral, and those are the cool ones to me and if there's a lot of them,
Yeah.
they're not something that are supposed to happen all the time. But man, you go some places and they just never stop.
Yeah.
The attic of Bull's Head Inn was like that, where it's just the whole night. You're starting to think it's your equipment, so you realize that all your cameras in that room pick them up. So
Nice. Um, have you ever seen anything levitate? I know we are talking about that book that fell off the shelf on one of your investigations.
yep,
Um,
Hillview.
yeah. Can you go and tell us about a little bit about that?
Yeah, Hillview Manor was probably the most iconic place we've done, and that's a that's a personal bucket list for me. I see somebody saying from Pittsburgh. I'm from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, so I'm not too far away from where you were there. I grew up in Newcastle. I live 2 miles from Hillview Manor. My great grandmother died in thank you, Carmack. Died in Hillview Manor, and so we went there. It was it was supposed to happen on my 40th birthday, and because of COVID, we had to do it months later. So we so we went. We finally did get to go, and my mother actually came along because she's fascinated. It's a family thing. It's a family thing with us. And my stepfather came along, and we divided up. We went up, but there was a very religious, apparently a very religious spirit in the top floor. My mother wanted to read the Bible to him because she's a very devout Catholic. So we did. We got good evidence from it. But my stepfather and my wife went down to this, and while they were in a far room, we had a sequence of things happen that were very interesting that we didn't know about till we reviewed the evidence. So we're in this room, and we caught a go away or a get out. It was some variation of that. I forget the exact one, what it was. So we then, while we're in that room, right after, the REM pod in the hallway starts going off. Guess what we did? They left the room.
Wow.
So, okay, get out. REM pod in the hallway. What'd they do? They got out. And then right after that happened, there was this old nurse's station about 20 feet further away from the room. And I didn't catch it on camera, but you can absolutely hear it. This medical book just slides off the shelf onto the floor. Now, I didn't catch it on video, so I didn't claim it or anything. You could hear it.
Yeah, you get it.
If there's a skeptic on the line, look, if you want to tell me it didn't do it, that's fine. I can't prove it didn't. But what was interesting about it is my stepfather, who was with us, is a very analytical mind and a very skeptical about all this. And something happened he couldn't explain. And ever since, he's been really interested in this. Wow. So it kind of shows you how you can take someone with a skeptical mind. And my wife said that book sliding off the shelf was one of the best things that could have possibly happened, because it just opened up. Wait a minute. I can't explain that. What caused that? What caused that? Which is what we spend all our lives asking ourselves. But at the same time, it was kind of neat. But yeah, Hillview had a special place for me. A bit of a pain to deal with, but it was a good. And I didn't communicate with any family. My joke was that my great grandmother never talked to me when she was alive. I don't know why she talked to me when she wasn't. But it was nice because I had a paranormal experience there 20 years before when it was open. And I was sitting in a room. I went to college near Washington County. Good place, good area. And we were my great grandmother had her live there, and we had her birthday parties there every year in like the rec room. And one year I turned to my aunt and I said, "Who's playing piano?" And we'd never thought much of it. 5 years later, I'm watching Ghost Hunters from Hillview, and they talk about the spirit that plays piano in that exact room. And I called my aunt, and I think she was freaked out a little bit. And it was the coolest thing for me was that in our investigation, the piano played a single note while we were in the room. Wow. And while I was 20 feet away, my wife was 15 feet away. And what's weird is, man, we didn't hear it when it happened. But on the video, it's clear, doom, just one note. And that the fact that happened years later was very fulfilling to me, because that was something that validated an experience that I thought I had. And that was a cool part of that investigation.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a cool place. I got an extra, it's not one of the cheap places to go, but if you're looking for an iconic location to go to, that joint is jumping, my friends. We caught a ton of stuff there. Just don't go in the summer like we did, because I thought we were going to die of heat stroke and join the spirits.
Right. No.
But you're always either too hot or too cold when you investigate. You're never actually comfortable ever.
Exactly. Right. Do you think spirits travel from place to place?
Oh yeah, I mean, I this is all theoretical. I can't prove it to you, but yeah. I mean, we have evidence of spirits traveling within the halls or within the foundations of the same building. But I have to believe that, if a spirit wants to visit their children, and one lives in Pittsburgh, one lives in New York, and one lives in Texas, I have to believe that they have that ability to travel in between. At least I hope they do.
Exactly.
Now, and there's a million religious implications to whether they're allowed to, whether they're trapped in a place, whether they can't.
Yeah.
We could talk till 4 o'clock in the morning on every single instance. But I like to think, and from the evidence I've seen, I've come to think that spirits can travel. I hope they can. Be really miserable existence if they couldn't.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Stuck at one
I
place.
mean, look at all of us for the last year.
Right.
Imagine that for an eternity.
Right. Do you take anything like a first aid kit or something like that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Mhm.
We do. We didn't at first. Learn that one the hard way. Our second ever investigation was at the Burlington County Prison in New Jersey, and toward the end of the evening, my wife got pushed down a flight of stairs.
Oh wow.
Ended up with 2 black eyes. We had to scrape the gray paint from the railing off of her teeth. And nobody was behind her. I was in front of her, and she actually hit me on the way down. And she kept going. She went through me. I'm a load. All right. I am a large mammal. And most things that run into me slow down. She did not. And ever since that day, we've carried a first aid kit with us because that was a scary experience. And she had 2 black eyes for about 3 weeks.
Oh wow.
And I got a lot of really sideways looks because when your wife has 2 black eyes, everybody wants to beat the crap out of you. Wasn't me. It was the spirit that pushed her down the stairs. And we are planning on going back to face it again because it's one of her. She wants to conquer that. That's the one place that still bugs her a little bit, and she wants answers. So whenever the place. Wherever world opens up again, we plan to go there. Corey, it's funny. The comment I just read. We were so bad at this in our first investigation or two that we didn't even think about it. But the first aid kit is absolutely essential because our first 2 times we investigated were just debacles.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it's just like going back to holding your little camera like that, and like you could trip over something because I mean, you're actually walking in the dark, basically.
And she's she'll admit she's accident prone, but she doesn't just fly down a flight of stairs. If you fall, you tend to go this way. She went this way.
Whoa.
And that first, I mean, honestly, it's funny when that happened. I thought this whole thing was done. I thought she was going to say, "Sell the equipment. We're done. I'm never doing it again." Thank you, appreciate it. And honestly, I am shocked that she's next day she said I want to go back there. But she's a sport. She's the one who always gets all the bad stuff anyway. So she gets pushed. She gets. I get told to go away a lot, but I don't hear that till later. She's the one who got pushed.
Exactly.
I got in one of our events. I actually showed a picture of her with 2 black eyes. And then the small scratch on my back was the next picture. And I said, now I got it the worst. And it made everybody laugh because as a male, I'm, of course, the whinier of the 2 of us because that's just what we do.
Right. So what do you think about mirrors? You think they're the gateway to the other spiritual world?
There's a lot of theory behind that. I haven't seen it. I mean, we've all seen all the same TV shows, I'm guessing, but I take those for what they're worth. They're over dramatized, even though they're fun to watch. Mirrors are interesting. One of the first profound pieces of evidence we ever got was 4 scratches down a mirror in our hotel room in the Worcester Inn the first time we investigated it. Whether it's a portal or not, I don't know, but that mirror caught our attention. I usually, the problem is I don't usually set up cameras aimed at mirrors because the light from the IR reflects back and ruins the shot. But now, the mirror thing, I've read that it's a thing. I've never seen it, so I can't speak intelligently on it. But look, you gotta open everything up to the realm of possibility in this thing. So I believe anything until I believe anything is possible till I'm shown it can't be.
Well, here's one thing. How about Ouija boards? Have you ever messed with one?
No. And you might look behind me and go, wait a second, dude, you're a lying piece of crap. That was a gift from somebody. That was a movie prop. I can't remember the exact movie. She collects Ouija board, very gifted psychic medium who's a friend of ours. My wife won't even let me open it. I have had no desire to do that. I don't believe in opening a door I don't know how to close. We're not psychics. We're not mystics. We're not astrologists. We are complete, just straight down the middle scientific base. So, I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to mess with something. I don't want to open anything I can't close. And it's that simple. And my wife isn't as I'm fascinated by it. My wife is not fascinated by it at all.
I wouldn't either. Like,
no, I'm amazed she let it come in the house. I really am. If we didn't love the person so much who gave it to us, and it didn't come from such a great place that they gave it to us, it would still be in my car.
Wow. So we think about dowsing rods.
I've never used them, but and by the way, I don't want to. There's a comment I just want to address.
Okay.
I don't want it to be misconstrued. Mediums are amazing. They're great. They are. We're not saying that we don't believe in that kind of thing. Just none of us have that gift. We've worked with some amazing mediums, and those who are good at it, I marvel at the ability and the God-given talent. So I just don't want it to be any anybody to misconstrue that I think that that our way is the only way to do it. We just don't know. We just aren't mediums. We don't work with any of them regularly. That's the only reason that we investigate the way that we do. Sorry, Eli. I just wanted to.
No.
Somebody think I was saying that it wasn't a good way to do it, because it's a great way to do it if you have somebody who's legit and great at it. I can imagine, because I've worked with a couple groups where they've had a medium, and it opens up a whole new element to the investigation. It's an interesting. It's a real. That's why when we team up, when we work with other groups, it's really cool to have that as something that they do, because it's completely different than what we do.
Exactly.
Anyway, you asked me about. I'm sorry, we digressed.
No, you're good.
I do that sometimes.
Oh, me too. Well, let's go on. I forgot to. Oh, about okay. Have you ever been chased out by a cop? I know you're telling me a story.
Well, yeah. Well, yes and no. We don't go, and nor do I condone or recommend going places that you're not allowed to go. There are enough places that you can investigate where you are allowed to go. The only time it happened was at Burlington Prison, and we actually think this may have made the spirit angry that pushed her. The people who ran the prison didn't tell the local police department that there were going to be people there that night. Yeah. So somebody reported at 11 p.m. in a random June night that there's flashlights inside this museum. So I'm on the first floor by the front, and the door flies open, and this cop comes in, yells, "Freeze!" Now I'm holding basically something like this in the dark. I'm holding something in one hand. Wow. It could very easily look like a weapon.
It can.
And it's funny now, but like at the time, my heart, once I put my heart back in my body, it was fine. But that was the only time. And what's interesting is she got pushed down the stairs about 45 minutes later. And we have theorized, I can't prove it because we can't prove any of this really, that the presence of we brought the police. We talked to the police. Only my wife and I really talked to the police a lot. And that if I was a ghost of a prisoner, I would be really PO'd at the people who talked to the police and were laughing with the police. That may have led to the old heave-ho that she got about 45 minutes later. But that's the only time. And actually, when we do residential investigations, which unfortunately another casualty of COVID has been not doing a lot of those. But when we do them and the people aren't going to be home, we tell them, can you please contact the local police department and tell them you're going to have people at your house? Exactly. Because, we want them to have our name. So if they do show up, they don't kick the door open. I just show them my driver's license and we call it a day.
There you go. That's easy.
I'm not exactly threatening though. So the police probably figured they won't put much of a fight to bring me down.
How big is your team normally?
Well, again, there's the team thing. My wife and I are at the base of everything. My wife and I are the leads, the founders, the whole thing. We have people that we've sort of organically have sort of become a team. We have her best friend Erin, who's very good at this. Pedro, who's a dear friend of ours, who is really good at it too. And that was sort of just and it started off with Emily and I. Erin and Pedro came along with us, and then we went to Grapevine Farms and started investigating there, and we met the owners of Grapevine Farms, who we have investigate with us when we do their property, but they've actually come along with us to other investigations.
Oh, wow.
And one of their people who work there, Jess, who's like one of their longest tenured employees, she comes with us, and she's planning on coming with us to other investigations too. So we're kind of growing this family organically, just places we go, people we meet. And and my mother's got an investigation, my father-in-law, my stepfather. We just, if you're interested, and we're people that we know, and you have to go until you know. And once you pop, you can't stop with this, because we never brought anybody who doesn't want to keep going. We're good at, but we like to keep it small. Like, we like to bring the amount of people that are appropriate for the location. Like, you don't want to bring, 12 people to a place that's only 15,000 square feet. So you have to look at the building, and then we say, hey, where is this geographically? Hey, Jess, this is up your way. You want to come? Hey, Pedro, this is down by us. You want to come? And that's kind of how we manage it. And I get, as I'm sure all the other groups here get all the time, hey, can we join your team? Can we join your team? I'd love to become a member. For us, it's all about people we meet on the journey and family. I respond to all these people, but, but at the moment, it's, it's nice to keep that. It's nice to keep that as a family, and all the people we investigate, we've become pretty tight knit because of it. We're friends outside of it. And that's kind of the cool part. Like, the Grapevine Farms thing has been so interesting, because we never expected to meet those people and have them become part of our paranormal family. The places like, and the people we've met along the way who are living have really made this journey such an endearing experience. And I never expected that.
Wow.
I never expected to meet so many friends and to be touched by so many different people. We're still heartbroken. The owner of the Worcester Inn, which was one of our favorite places, he passed away in December. And it is, and you meet these people, and they get under your skin, and they become part of your life and your family. And, and it's great when you get to, but when stuff like that happens, they turn into so much more than clients, is what I'm rambling my way to say.
Yeah. Well, going to that, okay, because I know that it sometimes contaminates the evidence, like sort of like slamming doors. I'm eating right now, so I have my camera off. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to look like a pig, but let's say you're in a location, right, and someone just knocks something over because it's dark, or the door slam accidentally. Do you sometimes guys say, okay, it's 4:36, the door slammed, I accidentally hit it with a foot?
The most we do is just if we're always recording, we'll just say, that was me moving, David's foot, Pedro's hat, that we'll just yell out what it is. Because when I'm reviewing the evidence later, I'll just write it down and say, oh, that's a false positive, false positive, false positive. If there, a lot of times we don't, but I mean, once you've reviewed enough evidence, and I'm sure a ton of people on this chat can do that, can talk to this, what a footstep sounds like, what a car sounds like, what a sneeze sounds like, what a cough, what they all sound like. And after a while, you just don't even put much thought. You're like, all right, throw that out. That's not enough. That's nothing. That's nothing. That, so you get to be pretty good at sometimes you mark it. Like, I try to mark it every time, but even I miss sometimes. But after a while, and every location has their own sort of ambient noises that occur.
Yeah.
Some places have the furnace will make a sound every hour, or there's dripping water in a certain part of the basement that you didn't hear when you were there. So you take it place by place, location by location. And after, it doesn't take long to realize what is something and what isn't something.
Exactly.
At least in my opinion.
I mean, it could be hard though. I mean, even with new investigators too, trying to teach them and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to show them with the ropes because it's dark, and let's say you hear a voice and you're like, oh, I'm okay. I mean, it's how do you investigate and teach at the same time?
Well, everybody who comes on an investigation with us for the first time, this is not like group events and stuff. That stuff's for, that stuff's for like paying customers of locations. But anybody who wants to investigate with us the first time, they have to sit through me doing like an hour-long presentation of what everything is, how we operate, how to do it, what the best practices are. There's a corporate word for you. All the methodologies, so that they have a base idea, so that when I say something the night of the investigation, it's not the first time they've heard it. And I made my own parents sit through this. So this is not something that we just do. You have to, and then with, we do it over Zoom. We do it in person. The first time Aaron and Pedro came with us, this was in 2019. They came over our house and we had dinner and we just put it up on the TV. And I stood up there for an hour and I talked about all this stuff. There are rules you have to follow. There are ways that we investigate, and there are things we don't do. And everybody kind of has to adhere to that, and if they don't, they probably won't come on more than one investigation with us.
Exactly.
See, that's the nice thing. Emily and I decide who comes and who doesn't, and we only invite the people that we like. And the people I've talked about are the people that we've come to love and know. And I'm shocked at how good our family members have actually been at this too. It's pretty funny.
Exactly. Well, that's cool. Like, I mean, at least you know.
Sorry, Eli, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. There also has to be one person in charge. Like, you can't, like, Emily and I are a team. It's the only time in our entire marriage that I'm in charge. Whenever we're on an investigation, I am the lead investigator. If I say, hey, we need you to go down to the basement, they go down. It's just understood. Dan's in charge. He will send us where we need to go. And it's important because you don't want that kind of debate. You don't want any arguments. You don't want any of that. And everybody understands that. Like, all right, well, Dad's go to the wine cellar. We go to the wine cellar. And it's not about it being a dictatorial thing. It's just that you need one person kind of guiding it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's the only time in my marriage I'm ever in charge of anything. So I love going on investigations.
Fair enough. Sorry. Let's talk about sleeping in the long haunted locations. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know you've done it before.
Yeah, we do it. We do it a lot. When we first started, it was just a way to do economical paranormal investigating. You find a hotel that would never let you investigate the whole thing. You find out what the most haunted room is based off of experience, other groups, or history, and you book the room. And then you investigate the room, and then you go to sleep in the room.
Have you ever had any personal experiences in there?
Well, it's interesting. Not a lot. And it's interesting, in none of the hotels that now, when we did Worcester Inn, we stayed in the ghost room the first time. And during the night, we thought we felt somebody sit on the edge of the bed, which was a story that had been told before. But our camera didn't pick up any kind of depression or anything. So you won't find it in the video, but that's an experience that we had. One of the locations that loves for us to sleep is Grapevine Farms. I mention them a lot because we get the best, amazing access. They're a store. So people don't sleep there.
Oh, okay.
But so the story of that building is that when the owners moved in, they found the tombstone of a resident who died in the mid 1800s in the basement, which is not all that uncommon that tombstones were moved in that time, because when people died, they would bury them, but when there was time to plow the fields, they'd move the tombstone. Oh, wow. Well, there's been a lot of reports of the spirit named David in that room. And even when they've taken the tombstone out, that's the room that he seems to occupy. So they said, hey, does your wife want to spend the night in that room? And we're like, yeah, let's spend the night in that room. So Emily, it's a very small room and it was a twin bed. And Emily said, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, you do that. We had a camera on her all night. And what we did, and first, before she even went to bed, her clothes were pulled on the chair a little bit, which was interesting. It happened so quick that you might be tempted to think I faked it. But in the video, we actually do show you that the 1/30th of a second at a time that shows you this actually did move. It happened so quick, it looks fake, but it isn't. And then while she was sleeping, we caught her name being said. Just very whisper, Emily, very quiet, which is awesome. She didn't think it was as awesome as I did when I heard it while watching the evidence. We actually have slept in the wine cellar of Grapevine too, because when we investigated there one time, we caught a man singing and cackling laughter. So we wanted to sleep down there, which is a funny story about that. The owner, because of the cameras that we use are very sensitive. So the owner said, well, I'll cut down on the noise pollution. I'll turn the furnace off. Well, it was like 40 degrees outside that night. We're sleeping in the cellar. We nearly froze. We nearly froze our asses off. Thank you, Corey. It's the coldest I've ever been, but we caught a lot of activity going on around us. So we do like to. We started off as a way to investigate a haunted hotel room inexpensively by just booking the room, and now it's become something we like to do. We like to sleep in haunted locations because, especially in locations that aren't used to people sleeping there, and we find we get a lot of activity. Grapevine's been amazing for that.
Cool. Have you ever? Did you ever in these locations? Have you ever like smelt like perfume or smoke or?
It's interesting. Our first ever ghost hunt that I mentioned at Rolling Hills, we kept smelling pipe smoke all night.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the owner of Rolling Hills, who's a wonderfully nice lady, she was telling us that she's never heard of that before. So she's like, well, maybe that's something that maybe that was a relative of yours coming through or something like that. You think you smell stuff every once in a while. Usually you can talk yourself out of it. The home we just investigated, there was apparently a history of a man who smelled like cigarettes that was there. We didn't smell that. But the pipe smoke is what comes to mind because, that was just so out of place in an abandoned building.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, especially like with funeral homes, have you ever investigated one?
No, we haven't. But it's interesting. Worcester Inn, which unfortunately has been closed, hopefully not forever because Jim's death. Part of the reason we believe their activity was so crazy is because a funeral home is next door to it, and the entire water supply of the city goes right underneath the building. So there, funeral home and running water directly underneath the building. That's a good recipe. We have not investigated a funeral home. A friend of ours recently moved into an office that used to be a funeral home, and he's like, I got to get you guys in here when COVID's over because I'm getting some weird feelings in here. So we may have one coming up in the next couple of months, but nothing on the docket yet. But funeral homes are interesting. It's weird because I don't just visit them for fun. And every time you go into a funeral home, you're already kind of in a preconditioned emotional state anyway, which is not a state I would like to investigate in. So it would be interesting. I've never in my life been to a funeral home where I haven't been feeling something in terms of an emotional connection as to why I'm there. It'd be very interesting to go into a funeral home blank slate and in investigation mode.
Yeah, because you think about it, I mean,
that's interesting. The bubblegum thing is really interesting. Nocturnal Nation. That's pretty cool. I like that. When they validate, isn't it awesome when the spirits validate what you're experiencing? There's nothing better than that.
And you know what I was talking to you about last time, like when you were going to ask questions, feel like they knew what you were going to ask. I think we're talking about something like that yesterday. It was you were going to ask the spirit something, and all of a sudden they responded back to you.
It happens occasionally, but remember when we review evidence, it's all retrospect. So sometimes you don't remember what you were thinking, and you think to yourself, "Didn't I think I was asking that question?" But your mind. You talk yourself out of it. Yeah, you talk yourself out of it because you're like, "No, I'm watching too many TV shows. That's not that. No, that's not what that is."
Exactly. Have you ever been on paranormal lockdowns? Like they lock you in for like 12 hours or 24?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, the businesses lock the doors when they close. That concept drives me nuts. I'm like, look, you can lock the door all you want. If something makes me want to leave the building bad enough, I'm not going to use the door. So I think that's that whole. I think a lot of that is dramatized. Like, oh, they're going to lock us in for 20 hours. My favorite thing was I remember watching. I think it was Ghost Adventures where they did a lockdown, but it was a fence. And my wife's like, well, they could just jump over the fence, can't they? If you want to leave a place bad enough, you'll leave. We've never left it. Now, occasionally you take a breather. You can get overwhelmed. It's happened to my wife once or twice where you'll just I call it getting bum rushed, where you just feel so much coming at you at one time that your energy it's ripped out of you. You go outside, but you always go back in. I don't know if I've ever been truly locked in anywhere, but we've never been anywhere where we're like, let's get out of here now. Right. Because I still maintain that it's not it's scary to watch. I don't believe it's that scary to do.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I if you don't mind, I'm gonna show a picture to everybody. The one picture you sent me
Yeah, sure.
about face and everything on top of the
Yeah,
door.
the picture I didn't take. The best picture ever taken on one of our investigations that we have
Oh
we
yeah.
did not take.
Okay, let me try to zoom this in a little bit.
Oh, this is the grapevine one.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be
I'll
tricky
let
to
you
see.
explain it a little bit. It's
So this
right
photo
here.
he's showing you is a photo that was taken not by us, by the owner of Grapevine Farms, who was investigating with us the first time we ever went. And this is taken on his cell phone with no flash. And it's hard to see, but there is a 3D face of
Right.
just above the light that is pretty clear. It has some 3D elements to it. It has a little bit of a shadow feature. You can almost make out an eye and a mouth. It jumped off when I saw it.
It looks like hair. It looks like a female because that's like looks like it's
Yeah,
hair.
I mean, they theorize that it's David. We have no idea of knowing who it is. The weirdest thing about this picture is not the face. It's the fact that I don't know where that light's coming from just below the face. He did not use a flash. That's my me in the picture in the foreground. The flashlight I have, you can clearly see, is aimed at my shirt. I'm actually changing a camera battery when this was taken.
Yeah.
This picture is interesting. I talk a lot more about it in the investigation video we did on it. It's also, I enhanced the light on it so it's easier to see. But Eli wanted to show it, so I sent him the best version of it I had. This picture still fascinates me. Not so much for the face, but for the light. That light would be about 8 feet off the ground because it's angled up into a doorway, and then that face would be by the ceiling. It's an interesting. It's a picture that still fascinates me to this day. And it just drives me nuts. We've taken thousands upon thousands of pictures, and the best one we ever took was taken not by one of us. It was taken by Tim, the owner, one of the owners of Grapevine. Who this day I tell him, I'm like, man, best picture we have, you took.
Look at the face. Wow, that's wild.
When we do tours of Grapevine after we do events there, we actually we were able to show them exactly where that picture was taken, like on the wall. Yeah. I've tried to debunk that every which way but loose, and I just can't. There's no explanation for it. And I try to debunk stuff 2 years after we capture it. I think everybody does. And it just something like that drive. You know, it's funny. You catch it, you're like, oh my god, that's awesome. Oh crap, I got to explain it. Crap. Like, it's a weird feeling. I don't know if I'm alone as the only paranormal guest who gets a little irritated when we catch something awesome because I know I'm going to have to answer for it for the next 6 months.
But it's not. It's simply possible because there's no body, no legs, no nothing unless they're taped to the wall and they're like, oh,
and I, it's funny. This is probably before David stopped liking me. Because David wouldn't show up now for me on a bet. So I'm kind of glad Tim took the picture. He likes my wife, though, so he has good judge of character.
That's wild, man.
Well, David Hiltz thing, it's kind of funny because I antagonize him now a little bit. I don't provoke him, but he's the angriest thing the thing people say about him is he's a grumpy old man, and I have a mountain of evidence to prove it. So whenever I walk into his room, because I just address whatever spirit I know is there. I always call him my man, not to provoke him, but I know he probably would rather I call him David. The last time we were there, before we investigated, the owner had run out to run some errands, and my wife had run out to get dinner. So I was alone in the building, and I'm on the floor in David's room, like rigging up the camera. Because in that room, you have to plug your camera in. David will drain your battery because he hates me. And I'm on the floor, and there was like a boot stomp about 2 feet behind me. It shook the whole floor. And I'm on the floor after that happened, and I shook my head and I went, oh, geez, David's not cooperating tonight. And that's kind of who David is. He's a curmudgeon, and he seems to like Emily. He doesn't seem to like me. But that's okay. Most people prefer Emily over me anyway, so it's fine.
Exactly. What are the best EVPs you ever recorded?
Oh man, there's an ocean of them. I think since we do investigate other places than Grapevine. We just have great evidence from there. I'll start there since we're on the topic. In the basement, there's a spirit of a little boy named Michael who is 8 years old, and I know this because every single time we're there, he tells us his name is Michael, and he tells us he's 8 years old. He either is incapable or unwilling to tell us any more than that. But occasionally, he does talk, and at one point, he likes to tug on my pockets, which is a little unnerving because I never know when it's coming, but you know it's coming. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to make conversation with him one night, and I said, "Are you playing hide and seek? Are you play?" Jess and I were actually down there in the clip. It's in our video. Are you playing hide and seek? Are you in the closet? And right after I said that, our camera in the room caught a very clear vocal tone of a child, "Look in the closet."
Wow.
That EVP still blows me away. We caught an EVP of in the Worcester Inn. The first time we went, we brought a teddy bear for we heard stories of a small child on the second floor who would run up and down the hallways. So we brought him a teddy bear. Well, nothing happened. But on our second investigation, which weirdly, we usually get more stuff on the second investigation anyway, we moved the teddy bear to the third floor to see if this child spirit would go with it. We've caught a child's voice in the hallway saying, "Where's my baby?" And that was children's voices are creepy, man. They could be singing happy birthday. It doesn't matter. A child EVP is one of the creepiest things that you can catch. But those two stick out big time I'm just doing the motion of two. Those two, in our last investigation, we caught an EVP of a voice saying, "Hey, you're a handful," which made me laugh. That's a unique one. We've caught some good EVPs, but Look in the Closet and Where's My Baby, they're just in a class all by themselves to me because they were class A. They were like clear vocal tone. They were an intelligent response. You could understand exactly what it was, and you could easily construe what they were talking about. And most of them are just that whispery kind of thing where there's just not enough energy to get a clear vocal tone. The clear vocal tone ones just make you sit straight up. Another interesting one just happened. I can't tell you what they're saying, but again, it's about validating experience. We investigated a farmhouse in Sharon Springs, New York, about a month ago. And just put the video out not too long ago. And as we were investigating, we kept hearing people talking, which is an experience I'm sure that almost every group on here can attest to. And it's one of that kind where you're hearing people talking that it's like, you're where you're sitting right now watching this, and somebody as far away from you in your house as they can possibly get is talking. That's what it sounded like. And it happened like 3 or 4 times. And at one point we went outside it was -10 that night. So we didn't do a lot on the property, but we went outside to take some pictures. While we were outside, the camera in the living room picked up a clear male voice and then a clear female voice responding to it about 6 seconds later. I can't tell you what they were saying because I really couldn't make it out. But at the same time, it is, it's a really cool experience. It validated the experience. Where is Hinsdale House?
Is it?
I don't know if he's talking. There's like all these conversations. I don't know if they're talking to me, you, or each other. So I
think let me see what's located.
Your comment section is very active.
New York State.
New York State's which side? New York's a smidgen bigger. Well, it's funny, and we're not doing overnight trips right now either. So we've really closed in around where we can investigate right now. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Grapevine lets us sleep on the floor.
Wow. That is wild, man.
It's funny. I just remember I had another one come to mind on a comment here. One time we had when my mother was investigating, she had brought Jax to play with the kids, and she really was bad at it, like really bad at playing Jax. And we caught an EVP saying, "Can you help her?" Which was just fantastic. The spirits were trolling her a little bit.
Hey, Linda.
We're not in the five boroughs. Yeah, we're not. Thankfully, we don't live in the five boroughs. We're Orange County, which is a little bit outside of it. I usually avoid New York City with a passion. We've been pretty much concentrating on Syracuse and east and south of it, but 4.5 hours away isn't too far, Drew. That's actually, put that on the list.
Exactly. Have you ever caught any? Have you ever caught any spirits on a picture?
Other than the one that Tim took, there was one instance where in the basement of Grapevine, we took a bunch of pictures, and in one of them there was a face, what looked like a face, which we thought could be Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I took about 27 pictures of the same exact spot, and the facial thing only appears in one of them. It's in our March 2020 investigation of the place. But in terms of like those kind of that's like the holy grail. You don't get a lot of that stuff.
Mm.
But the Tim picture, the Michael's face picture, those are about the two best we've ever caught.
Okay, that's cool. Are you ever worried about attachments?
No, I mean it happens. I'm sure it happens. We have our mantra that we say afterwards,
Yeah.
to paraphrase, thanks for having us. You stay here. We're going home. That's a very paraphrased version of it. We
Yeah.
wear our, we each have our own things we do for protection in terms of jewelry with stones and stuff like that. So far, so good. I can only speak to my own experience. I'm not sure how much that gets dramatized by television.
Mhm.
But luckily, so far, so good. We haven't had any problems. I'd knock on wood, but I know my desk isn't made of wood, so I'm not going to bother.
No, you're good, man. I know you've seen a lot of things while you were on the field and stuff like that. But have you ever seen like a spirit of like or a shadow? Sorry, a shadow of a like an animal or something like cat, dog, like anything like
No, because that would scare me more than any spirit. The animals, man. That's why people ask, why don't you go to a cemetery at night? Well, first of all, not all cemeteries are haunted, and secondly, I'm afraid of wild animals. And if I saw a raccoon, I'd run. If I saw a ghost, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? It's a random, weird kind of
yeah.
setting. You don't see. It's funny. For as much as we do this, only one of us has ever seen a full body apparition, and it was me. And I didn't capture it on. We didn't capture it on camera. You just
Wow.
don't see stuff like that very much.
Yeah.
And when you do see it, you don't know what your mind just. You don't totally know what you don't totally realize it when it's happening when you see it anyway. But no, but yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of areas where I'm like, ooh, it's yeah, I've been licked by a ghost dog though, randomly.
Oh wow. How?
At least we think so. Um, that's deep. At least
Right.
when we first investigate, it's the most startled I've ever been. I'm sitting on the floor and it's in one of the videos made, and I just jump. And my wife's like, "What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong?" Because I don't do that. I'm usually borderline flatline while we're
Mm.
doing it. And I honestly didn't know. And I said it at the time. I'm like, you know what? We have two dogs. I know what a dog licking your hand feels like, and that's what that felt like. And we found out the next day. The owner called us. The first time we were there, his wife wasn't feeling well, so she wasn't able to join us. The next day, he had told his wife about it, and she said, "Oh my God." She goes, "They had a dog that had passed away." And she said, "I'm laying in bed." And I said, "If you're here, go scare them."
Yeah.
And then to
Um,
the dog. And I know what that, I can't prove it. We can't, but I know what a dog licking your hand feels like. And
yeah.
that was the most scared I've ever been. Most startled I've ever been, by potentially getting licked by a dog.
Right. Let me ask you a question about protection. I mean, not protection of human beings or anything, and well, but that too. But I'm talking about like protection, sort of like you said, crystals and stuff like that. Do you take any crosses, like a cross around your neck? I know a lot of
I
people do.
don't, but I'm not an overly outwardly spiritual person. So
Mhm.
wearing a cross wouldn't mean much to me. And I'm not saying I'm anti-religious. I'm not, but part of protection, I believe anyway, these are my opinions, comes from your belief in what you're wearing and what you're believing in will protect you. That's where that protection comes from. You know, I said to my wife wears a cross, and I'm like, what if the ghost isn't a Christian? It's not going to bother him. I believe that the black tourmaline and the black onyx in the bracelet I wear and the things that we do and say will protect me. And so far, so good. But everybody has their own belief system, and you got to, whatever people believe will protect them will likely protect them, because part of the protection not only comes from whatever higher power you're engaging in, but also from your own belief. And a lot of that, you know, the spirit from within kind of thing. I know it's deep, and you have some very deep people on here, but at the same time, there's no one answer to that. I just know that what each person wants to do for their own protection, more power to them, because if they believe it's going to work, it's going to work so much the better.
Exactly. Let's talk about cemeteries. Hey, what's up, Ghost Ops? What do you think about them? I know you were talking about it earlier, but
yeah, cemeteries. I think it's funny. I think because nobody's going anywhere around other people. It seems like social media is replete with people investigating cemeteries. And you know, we never really investigated a cemetery. Not all cemeteries are haunted. If spirits can travel, like we talked before, I would hope they'd want to be somewhere else than where they're buried. But most of the time, we go to cemeteries as part of our research. We go to cemeteries to visit the people we're hoping to talk to. We go to visit the families of the people we're hoping to talk to. We'll stand in front of a gravestone and ask a couple questions and have a recorder on to the person we're trying to talk to. But you have no idea of knowing, unless it's an intelligent response, who you're talking to. There's 2,000 people buried in a cemetery. You could be talking to any of them. So we don't do a lot of investigating of cemeteries, just because it's we just haven't done a lot of it. And it seems like a lot of the evidence I've seen that's good tends to come from Europe and the UK from cemeteries. And that makes some sense. So cemeteries have been around a lot longer than any of ours have.
Yeah.
We should do more cemeteries. Most of them are gorgeous.
What's the strangest case you ever, been at?
Well, I mean, for us to think something is strange, I mean, we vet everything pretty well before we go, so we very rarely run into anything we didn't already hear about. I get some strange emails.
Yeah.
I got an email once from somebody asking my opinion about an alien ship hiding behind the Goodyear blimp. That was an interesting email. But in terms of strange, it's just I don't know if I can. Let me think about that. Hillview Manor told us that they had a creeper on the second floor, a black shadow they think it was an elemental. We learned about that when we got there. That wasn't in the brochure. That one kind of threw us for a little bit. Like, wow, that was unexpected. But that's more like, wow, didn't know that was there, than it is strange.
Yeah. Can you dispel the notion that all spirits are evil?
Well, are all people evil?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think the misconception that happens, and by the way, I think again, I think television is very guilty of planting this in a lot of people. Dealing with the dead is not that much different than dealing with the living. I mean, you have nice people, you have friendly people, you have assholes, you have grumpy people, you have people you'll agree with, people you don't agree with, people who like you, people who don't like you. What percentage of living people are actually evil? Now, I mean, there's the whole demonic concept and demonic idea that I can't speak intelligently about. I'm not really trained in that. There are spirits who are not happy. I'm pretty sure the spirit that pushed my wife down the stairs isn't the spirit of Mr. Rogers, but at the same time, I don't think he's Beelzebub either. It would make sense that in a prison, that somebody might be angry. But at the same time, excuse me. Yeah, again, there's such a small percentage of evil people in the world that I can't imagine that same percentage of evil spirits is any higher or lower than that. That's just an opinion, but.
Oh yeah, of course.
Ron's grumpy. Okay. So am I. Don't worry about it.
No, I think
I fall into the curmudgeon category. Me and David Hiltz. That's probably why we don't get along up in Grapevine.
No. What can you tell? What can you tell amateur investigators before they investigate? What kind of what can you tell them to be careful with, or watch out how they're doing stuff with? You know.
Well,
And,
first thing I tell them is don't spend a ton of money until you've done it a couple times.
yeah.
Um, this is a hobby or a passion or whatever you want to label it that is not inexpensive.
Right.
But also, I would tell them don't think it's going to be like it is on TV.
Exactly.
You're not going to run into Satan everywhere you go. You're not going to have things flying off the shelves everywhere. Not every situation you run into is, and not every place you're going to go is going to be haunted.
Exactly.
You know, I just think it's. I always tell people who want to get into this, find a place like Ghost Hunts USA, for example, is a great company that does investigations at haunted places that they provide equipment. You can use their equipment, and it's not cheap, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than than buying an Ovilus and buying a Mel meter and going out and trying to do it. You have to really see if you have to know if you're going to run toward it or away from it. Like find an event, find a ghost hunt event, find somebody like there's a million companies like that. Ghost Hunts USA, we just know some people in it and we love them. But those kind of places, that's what I would do first. Don't just be like, all right, we're going to start a paranormal organization. Let's go. You know, Wolverines, you know, that's great and everything. But you don't know till you know. And the only way to find out is to go in my mind with other people. So you spend $300 instead of $3,000.
Exactly. Hey, what's up, Life Adventures?
It's not for everybody.
Exactly. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of concerns about it, dangers, and things you got to research as well. Research is very important in this field as well.
Well, and also, you know, if you do an investigation, depending on how much equipment you use, like we investigate, you know, we use anywhere from 4 to 8 different cameras. You're going to be reviewing evidence for 40, 50 hours.
Yeah.
That's the moment. That's the moment. Even I question my life choices sometimes when I'm staring in a basement for 8 hours and nothing happens. Like, you know, it's you know, that's what separates the men from the boys, as the old saying used to go. That's how I tell when somebody wants to investigate. It's like, all right, I'm sending you 8 hours of footage. And you're going to look at, and usually I pick the good stuff for me. So I usually send the boring footage, what I think is going to be boring, to the people who come with us. I pick what I want.
Exactly. Well, we're at 141. So, did you want to open the panel so everybody can ask you some questions? Or
yeah, do whatever you want to do, man. It's your world.
Okay, guys, we're gonna open the panel, but as long as you respect the host and the person that we're interviewing, that'd be cool. Come up, ask some questions. You know, hang out. Here we go. Open the link up, and I'll post it in a minute. Give me a second. I'll post it up at the top. There you go. Yeah, I mean, this is my interview time, 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. You know, it all depends, you know. So let me post it up so it can stay up there. All right, give me a second. My chat's slow. Okay, I pinned it. Yeah, I was always interested in the paranormal since I was a kid, you know, and I always believe that, you know, our loved ones come back, you know, to give us a message or be by our side. And I do believe in spirit guides as well. You know, I don't know if you think of spirit guides much.
I don't think about it much, but that's the whole guardian angel concept.
Yeah, guardian angel, yeah.
I'm not an outwardly or overall spiritual person, but I can see how someone would find a lot of comfort and there's in something like that. And I know a lot of people who have a lot of compelling, not proof, but a lot of compelling evidence that is something that's going on.
Exactly.
To each their own. That's how I look at everything.
Exactly. No, I mean, I like it though, man. I read a lot about it. You know, I read about like the dangers of using certain equipment. Not equipment, but like the Ouija board and everything else. And I want to know, what is that little circle thing? On those a planchette. I just want to know, what is that little circle thing in the middle of the Ouija board?
Oh, you mean the glass?
Moves? Yeah, the little thing. Yeah, the little thing that moves on the board.
You know, that's the planchette. I think that is actually what it's called. You're talking to somebody who doesn't use them.
I know, right? Hey, I read a lot. I mean, you know, it's always good to read a lot.
that shelf up there is a bunch of like
You're right.
souvenirs and stuff. If you watch the video, our first video from Grapevine, that angel looking thing back there,
Yeah.
that's the ornament that spun on command for us in the attic. We asked them to spin their favorite ornament, and that ornament started doing 360s. And the owners actually gave it to us as a gift when we came back and reviewed the evidence with them.
That's amazing. What do you think of science? Was it seances?
Seances?
Yeah.
If the person running them is legit, I've seen some amazing stuff, Adam. In terms of what again, a legit medium is amazing to watch because I mean the candles flicker, and we've actually set up some scientific equipment around them where the K2s and all that stuff. It's pretty amazing, and Magical Mystery Skyway. I could not agree with you more. That's why the Ouija board behind me is a gift that was used in a movie and has never been opened.
Right. So, what do you know the difference between ectoplasm?
I've heard that. I haven't looked into that much, but I've heard that if you look through it, you're supposed to be able to see the entity.
Yeah.
It's not the first. I've heard about that. We don't use them, so I don't look in. I never looked into it much, but that's such that whole thing is amazing. That whole idea of that kind of thing is just. There's so many interesting little corners of this world that make it endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, really. I agree. Yeah, I agree. So what's the difference between ectoplasm and ectomist?
One was a flavor of high C, and the other one was in Ghostbusters. No, I've never actually. I mean, the ectoplasm idea. I've never actually experienced it, but the idea that all living things leave a residue wherever they go, it makes total sense. It's not as obvious in a movie like Ghostbusters, where if you're about my age, the first time you ever heard of ectoplasm was probably Ghostbusters, because I grew up in the 80s. And but no, I don't know the difference. I imagine ectoplasm is probably more solid than the mist, just implied based off the words themselves. But no, I don't collect spores, molds, and fungus either, so I've never actually looked into it.
Well, it says, ever seen a mist or fog that almost looks like it's swirling? If so, you may be witnessing what paranormal investigators deem as an ectomist or ghostly mist. The vaporous cloud.
So a mist anomaly, basically.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. Okay. Yeah. That's basically that.
It's easier just to call it's easier just to call everything an anomaly, because then you cover all your bases.
Oh yeah, it is. And the other one, it swirls off the feet, off the ground. Because swiftly, it's basically the almost same thing, but
well, given that definition, we've caught a few things that look like that. The Worcester Inn, I really hope it's not closed forever, because if it reopens, you all need to go there, because it is some of the most impressive orbs, light anomalies, whatever you want to call them. We picked up some amazing stuff that you can't even go through that building taking pictures, even with your cell phone. You're going to catch a bunch of them. We've caught some that have had like an L shape that appeared to have moved on it, like that, more of a mist of what you're talking about, Eli. That's what brought that to mind.
Oh yeah, I mean, I read about a lot of stuff. I heard that if you it's just like with ectoplasm. Like, let's say I was watching this TV show, and they're saying that if you have stuff coming out of your mouth, and if someone interrupts you, it could burn you. And I'm just like, what? Like,
wow,
that's new.
Wow, that I did not see that one. I'm kind of glad I didn't.
I know, right?
Watch. I'll tell you, it's funny. All these paranormal TV shows can give you they're fun as hell to watch, but they can really give you a really inaccurate portrayal of what doing this kind of thing is. I'm hearing crickets too. You're not the only one.
Give me a second. I'll be back in a second. Sorry.
Well, don't poison the crickets. You're not alone, see. I'm hearing the cricket. I know I'm boring. I didn't think I was that boring.
Sorry,
I wish I could hear crickets. It's like 23 degrees outside here. I wish it was warm enough for crickets.
think it got up to 80 down here in Texas today.
Oh, wow.
I've been missing the smell of firewood burning, so I had to light a fire.
Oh, trust me, if it weren't this cold, we do a lot. We do the same thing. But spring will be here in about a month, maybe a month and a half, for us anyway.
But y'all can't wait neither.
Yeah, 2 feet of snow gets old after a while.
Well, I think not this last time, but the time before, it was almost a foot of snow here.
Damn.
And this last time it was like 6 inches. And we lost power both times, and I got the wet wood burning again, and I was enjoying being outside in the snow. Except the grill wouldn't like though, but I had to take the fire from the open fire and put it in the grill and actually get it to light, and it finally lit twice, 2 different times. So I got the grill outside during
nice. I still can't see our fire pit in the back because the snow's still too high. We're still recovering from we got about 2 feet of snow 3-4 weeks ago. Where New York is still we're still waiting for it to melt.
Yeah, I mean, with over here we had snow for 3 days, and because we're not used to it, and the power went out and stuff like that over in Texas, and no power, no light or anything, and that no electricity and no water, and it's pretty hard. And cars are stuck in driveways and all that. I never seen that before. And I know a lot of y'all just be like, "Wow, that ain't nothing. We're used to that."
No. 2 feet of snow. You're never used to that. Unless you live in Canada, you're not used to 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, I agree.
I was snowed in Montana for quite a few times. So.
Yeah, I never lived out of Texas. Only when I lived in Australia for 8 years. But I always want to see something like when I was in Australia. I always want to see like an Australian spirit. That would have been awesome. At least try to communicate with it. I just wish. It's kind of hard. Sometimes how you're half asleep and you hear a voice. Could that be a spirit? Or is that just because you're overtired?
It's hard to prove either way. Usually when I'm asleep, I hear a voice saying, "Take the dogs out," and that sure isn't a ghost. So, yeah, when you're between that conscious state of sleep and awake, that's a fascinating realm that unfortunately I don't know much about, but I'm sure there are people who've devoted books to it of that.
Yeah, it's sort of like you're in a dream state, or like a out of body experience, right? Sort of. Like a lot, I never done it before. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna even try to say I've done it, but I read about it. It's interesting, And then people say, what would happen if I have an out of body experience or astral projection, and my body and my soul gets away from the body, can it get lost forever? Because they say they have like a tether to your body and it brings you back. And like in my dream state, all my dreams have came true, and when they do, I have deja vu. But it's kind of strange with that. That's one thing that I always want to figure out is what is your tether? It's your soul or what? Linda said, "Great job."
Oh, well, yeah, well, she would. She's family. Thank you. That's what I do. I stock the panel with my family so people think I'm good.
Oh, right.
Hey, you got to stack the deck, man. You got.
Exactly. But that's so much. But Sheila, you guys don't got. Texas wasn't prepared for that. This kind of magnitude. They just shut down. I know you guys don't want to hear about that. I know you guys want to hear more about paranormal. So, I mean,
Yeah, ask any questions you want. Snow isn't paranormal. I will go on. I will take that stance, that controversial stance that snow is not paranormal.
oh, okay, I got a question for you. Okay, I know you don't know, but it just enlighten us a little bit. Okay, so do you think spirits can communicate with you through your dreams?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's enough experiences out there of people having um, talked about that, having experienced that. My wife actually has claimed that she was told that she's been directed in dreams to do something or act a certain way or to call somebody on a certain day. So, I mean, if the spirits if the spirits wait on everybody in the world to get a digital recorder and an Ovilus, we're going to be here a while. Sometimes they need to communicate with us through our dreams, and I firmly believe they do that.
I mean, a lot of people say, a lot of people say that it's all that, like, let's say you're watching a TV show, and let's say you're like remember that person, but he's in your dream. I don't think that's true because I don't watch much TV. I mean, I do. I watch YouTube or never, or Netflix. But I mean, actually, just talking to them and saying, "Hey, you know what I mean? You got to be careful. You got to do this," or I've seen a room that I've never been in, but I know I have because that's my property. I mean, that's just kind of strange how that is. I mean, I have no writing on my walls. I can't just say I remember this. I mean,
Well, I mean, you gotta. I mean, I'm sure. The conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg.
mhm.
I mean, we only use, and somebody out there probably knows the percentage. We only use less than 10% of our total brain power, and the rest of what the human mind is capable of is a mystery to almost everybody. And that's part that's a mystery is the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, what we see, what we perceive. It's all, I mean, I can't speak intelligently on it, but there is so much more that goes on in here than we possibly even can comprehend right now. And that's what makes it really fascinating, because there is so much to find out.
Yeah. What is this? Do you know the spirit? The difference between sort of like Let me see. I have it. Okay. Okay. The interactive personality of a ghost that is here and is they talk to us, and they're
Oh, you
acknowledging.
mean I'm sorry. You mean the difference between like an intelligent haunting and a residual one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are. I mean, it's weird to lump all of it into two categories, but at the same time, there are certain spirits that they just do what they do. They're on a tape over and over again. A lot of battlefields we find, a lot of like traumatic places where trauma has happened and people have died quickly. Gettysburg's famous for like these kind of residual kind of things where it's like on a tape and it's just happening over and over and over again. And it's happening whether you're there or not. They don't care what you're asking them. They don't care that you're there. They don't care what you brought. You don't exist to them. They're living the same thing over and over and over again. That's like a residual haunt. An intelligent haunt are like the ones we've been talking about that says, look in the closet when you're asking, are you in the closet? They are aware of you. They react to you. They respond to you. It's like a tape being played over and over again, and actually, the difference between that and talking to an actual person.
I agree. Agree with that. One thing, churches. Let's go back to churches. Like, have you ever? Because I mean, way back then, we talked about it earlier. Okay, you know how back in like in the 1700s, everybody was just like, "Oh, let's go to church." They won't kill us. Or a sanctuary, right? So,
okay.
The
way you asked that threw me off. I'm like, what are we talking about?
I know. Okay. So, do you think there's spirits in churches?
Well, why not? There's spirits everywhere else.
Yeah.
I know sometimes people get a little confused by that because they would think but church is a very spiritual place, regardless of what your religious beliefs or spirituality are. Mm-hmm. And the idea that, not only is it a congregation of spirits, also a lot of places where people have some of their fondest memories. So you can have a lot of positive spirits. You can also have negative stuff there too. I mean, you don't have to look through too much of history to know that there's been some pretty negative stuff that has happened in that kind of environment. And so you do have the capability. I mean, especially if you go back to, go to Europe or go back to the Middle East. I mean, God, those churches have been around for hundreds, thousands of years. They've seen everything. No, I have not investigated the Shawnee on the Delaware. It's just wanted to answer the question you put up there. My wife's fascinated with churches. Emily loves them. Every church we drive by, that's abandoned, she wants to buy it. She is fascinated with churches. She wants to, eventually I know we'll find a church that has activity that wants us to investigate because she really wants to. Mm-hmm. We all have our bucket list kind of location we want to investigate. And, that is hers. She loves churches. She just is fascinated by it.
Me too.
I want to do a theater. She wants to do a church.
What? So what do you think about haunted ships?
Same idea. I mean, the Queen. I know it's not an active ship anymore, but the Queen Mary is one of the most reportedly haunted ships in the world, and and a lot of stuff happens there too. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Look, you hear all the time about stuff, even on cruise ships. You hear about things happening and people passing away, and who wouldn't want an all-you-can-eat buffet in the afterlife? I mean, come on, these guys. Yeah. I would stay there too, actually, if I passed away on a cruise ship.
Okay, here's another one.
How do you know if it's an evil presence? You don't. You can. I mean, we haven't met many. But it's a different kind. You have to kind of feel that one out. Would be what I'd say. Like you can kind of, if you can feel that, but you usually don't know if something doesn't like you until later, unless they push you down the stairs. Yeah, it's tough to tell. They don't just say, "Oh, hi, I don't like you." We wish they would. It'd be so much easier if they would. But it's all about your body. What your body tells you. Your body is the most important investigative tool that you can have when investigating the paranormal, because your body, there's actually been scientific research done on this. Your body can sense it before any of the equipment can. Your brain senses a change in humidity, a change in atmosphere. You get that, the hair standing up feeling that you get when there's a change. It feels different when it's something that isn't nice. We haven't run into demonic, but we have run into something not very nice.
Ooh, attics. How about that?
It's interesting. They won't let you film or record. Well, then, huh? Attics are attics. I mean, we find there's a lot of spiritual activity in the attic, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a place where not a lot of people are. If you have a home, how much time do you spend in the attic of your house? Think about it.
Never.
If you were a spirit and you didn't want to be bothered and you wanted to be private, that's where I would hang out. The basement and attic thing is a little overdone. But we do find that, because of the attics being isolated, and in a lot of older houses, you have basements that have a stone foundation, and some stones can, if you believe in those kind of theories, stones can retain energy. Those minerals can retain memories. And one of the theories is called stone tape, for example, where it retains all of that information and it can play it over and over again. So that's basements. Basements are just kind of scary in general. I think that's why a lot of people think they're haunted. And attics, just because of how isolated they are. That's interesting, though, that you can't film in the attic. They just won't let you. They just drain everything and call it a day. Well, they don't want to be filmed. Sometimes they don't want to, and there's nothing we can do.
I think you would answer this, but you can answer this one to Maria.
What do I think of dowsing rods? I've never used them, but the theory behind them seems pretty sound. I mean, it's basically this thing without any power needed. It's just as long as the reason I haven't used them is because I don't trust myself to not move it myself. Like I always think of it, if I was watching me do this, okay, would I think I was moving those or not? You know what I mean? Like I can't sit still. If you've been watching this for 2 hours, you can probably tell that. I would have trouble with dowsing rods. I know people who use them. I know people who've used them successfully, and And they seem like a really good tool. I know I probably couldn't use them, but I have seen people use them with success, and they're just as valid as dowsing rods are a really, really old paranormal energy detector. They've been around a lot longer than any of us have been.
I don't think I could ever use them because my hands are always, I think they would just swirl all the time. I don't think I could ever keep it straight.
The Titanic, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I would think, wouldn't you? I mean, none of it, unless you're friends with James Cameron or what was the guy who discovered it? Oh, his name slips my mind at the minute. We're not going to find out. But I mean, think about it. Spiritual energy is does not succumb to the rules of water pressure. Does not succumb to the rules of atmosphere. Can spirits exist? Absolutely. Did death happen there traumatically? Phew, you bet. And I'm sure and. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't. I mean, I'm stuttering here. Hold on a second. We know that we have evidence and proof out there that the Titanic museums are haunted with the artifacts in them. There's one in Branson, Missouri that's a Titanic museum, which is kind of random, but that's where it is. And there's some very famous stories of those artifacts being haunted. So I mean, why not? I'm never going to be able to prove it, but I it's traumatic. It checks the boxes. It ticks all the boxes of what a place that would be haunted would have. So I can't see why it wouldn't be. Your panel asks good questions, man. I got a lot of.
They are, yeah, they always do.
I'm sorry, I stopped. I've been reading the comments sometimes mid sentence, and it throws me off. I need to. It's that ADHD and OCD combination I have going.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna play. Remember that one video you showed me about? It's a short clip about that black shadow that was right behind.
Yeah, this was from the Hillview Manor investigation. If you want to play it, you can, and then I'll explain why we decided this was something that was paranormal.
Okay, give me a second.
Because trust me, I didn't go down easy on this one. It took me a while before I was willing to say it. It's right over her shoulder. You're going to see it. It's a figure behind her. It's a shadow. Did you play the whole thing, or did you start it in the middle? There you go.
Check that out.
So
you can talk. I'll keep on playing.
So this clip, when I first saw it, it jumped out at me. This is at the end of the investigation, actually, and she's carrying a camera over her shoulder because we're packing up. It's 3:15 in the morning, and we noticed this figure. And this was one of the first clips I looked at, just in the order I reviewed, and we talk about it really in depth in our video on it, and you could probably see it a little bit better there. But here's the thing: is it Emily's shadow? No. The light that she's holding is an IR light. It is leaned up against what is her right shoulder. I'm sorry, her left shoulder. Forgive me. The shadow is over the top of her right shoulder. So that is not her shadow. Is it my shadow? I'm in front of her. There is no light source that I have to make that shadow. Is it an ambient camera or security light? The security cameras at Hillview are all up. The security camera is about 3 feet over her head. It would not generate a shadow upwards. It would generate a shadow downwards. And the other thing is, and it's tough without a still shot, Eli, I should have sent you that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that it doesn't behave like a normal shadow. And what I mean by that is it is selectively translucent, meaning the exit sign shines through the neck, but the shoulder blocks the doorway. And that's an interesting thing. So if you want to check that out on Facebook or YouTube, I explain it a lot better.
Yeah, I'll send the link so they can watch it out.
I've never used that app, but I've heard about it, and I've had people tell me on ghost hunt events that they use it and they like it. We've never used it though, so I can't give you a great answer on that one. I know people who have used it. The only two we've used are the Phasma box, and we use something called the Mag Cam. Which is an app for iPhone, which uses your phone's, your phone can sense what's around it. And what it does is it takes that, and if it senses something in the area, it will snap a picture using your camera. It is not a night vision picture. It is not it's just a black, space most of the time, but sometimes you might catch something with it. So the only two apps we've ever used are the Phasma box, and of course, there's the voice recorder app that you can get on any phone.
Hey Dan, can I interrupt you for a sec? Was this at the Hill Manor investigation?
Hillview Manor.
Okay, I got it. Okay. This is
spirits pull pranks to amuse themselves. Yes, they do. My favorite story of this is from Grapevine Farms, which I know I've talked about a few times tonight, but the attic there, we've caught some evidence of children in the attic, and what will happen is the owner will go outside to walk the dogs at night, and the light in the attic will be on. Wow. And they do this to him all the time. And they do it to him because they know he has to walk all the way through the store, because they live on the property. He has to walk all the way through the building, all the way up to the attic to turn it off. And that's just one example of a lot of pranks that I've heard of spirits playing. And hey, Michael in the basement of Grapevine likes to tug on my pockets, and he never tugs on the same pocket twice. And all that stuff. So it's so yeah, I've actually been a victim of and have heard of spirits kind of playing around and having a little fun.
Okay, I'm kind of missing comments. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'll put it out there, guys. It's at 14:30, or maybe start at 14:20 and then go by. It's awesome. It looks like I thought that it looked like someone with a hat.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just the angle of the shadow versus the shadow that's there isn't. Heard a baby? Ooh, that's a little creepy.
Yeah. Here's one from Sheila. I don't know if you got that one or not.
I just answered it while you were doing the comments. Yes, they do pull pranks. We've seen it. We've experienced it. And some of them have a pretty good sense of humor. And I've actually told people, don't ignore the spirits that are in your home or in an area, or they'll mess with you just to mess with you if they're in the right mindset.
I got a question. Do you think there's haunts at beaches out there?
Why not? Yeah. I mean, that's a short answer, but I think there's haunted anything. If it exists, it can be haunted. I mean, there's no prerequisite for a place to be haunted. A brand new home can be haunted if something that was there before it is haunted. It's anywhere that a spirit wants to. And honestly, if you believe when you die that there's a sort of a faction of people that would believe, hey, you go where you want to go. I know a lot of people who'd want to go to a beach, so why not?
I would too. I meant a couple, but they're not haunted. But you think about it.
Yes, and see, I would pull pranks if I were a spirit too. So you're not.
But how do we know? How do we know someone didn't get killed on the beach? I mean, how do we know that even the sea is haunted? The problem too.
If you watch Jaws, a lot of them do.
Oh, right. How about this? Holy water. Do you bring holy water just in case?
No. But again, if it's something you believe, again, we are spiritual people. We're not outwardly spiritual. So it's we don't use it. But again, we're not expecting to run into Satan anywhere. If we were going somewhere that might be a possibility, we might consider arming ourselves differently.
Hey, Orange County, I got a question for you. My house was built in 1795.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 6-bedroom Victoria. It's 3 stories. Wow. There's the main floor, the second floor, and the attic. Walk up attic. The place is huge. Any room in my house, I can get paranormal activity. In fact, I can sit here and talk to ghosts all day long because I get residual and intelligent haunting here. So I got a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, well, it's an old building.
and there's been a lot of negativity. There's been a lot of negativity that's happened. I've done so much history on this house. This place used to be a Bravo, used to be a tavern at one time, used to be all kinds of things, So there's a lot of negative energy here. A lot of hanging. There were a couple of people who hung themselves in the attic. In the 1970s, 1960s, a guy who was a pianist, him and his family moved in here, and he got possessed and killed his entire family upstairs.
Oh wow!
So it's So, and I can go up to the second floor, do a spirit box, do it. Sometimes I don't even have to have the spirit box on, and he'll talk. The spirits up there will talk to me to where I can actually hear them with my ears, you know, and I can pick them up on camera. I got a couple of videos on that, but and then I did a video one time where I did the old school stuff where I put baby powder on the floor, and I went to bed that night. Right, I come back and there's like little kid footprints. Yeah, and
that is old school, but it works.
Yeah.
It works,
Wow.
yeah, and little kid footprints, you know. And the thing is each footprint was spread out about 4 feet, so it's like they were jumping or running or something.
Play a little hopscotch.
Yeah, it's like it was. I mean, and I'm curious, why won't they let me record them or interview them in the attic? I
don't know. I mean, we've run into that before, but most of the time they'll just refuse to talk.
Okay. What it is, I'll have a full charge on my phone, a full charge on my camera, and I'll take the SLS app with me, and I'll have it. And by the time, I can on the second floor, I can start at the bottom of the stairs going up to the attic. By the time I get to the top of the stairs, both batteries and both equipment is all dead. They just drain it right out.
Yeah, I mean, they're sucking you dry on energy. Do you have power up there?
Yeah, I got power up there. I tried plugging I already did that. I tried plugging the camera and the phone into the outlets, and for some reason, the outlets didn't work. But the minute I unplugged the phone and the camera, the lights up there came back on.
Wow, they don't even want the equipment up there.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's pretty extreme. I've never quite heard that. I've heard of rooms where they just don't want you there and they'll drain your batteries. But man, they're going the extra mile to keep you from recording anything. I've
been pushed down my stairs already. I got a long about 20 steps up to the second floor. About 10, 20 steps up to the second floor. And I've been pushed coming down the steps. I've been pushed coming down the steps already, you know. And there are some times where I'll hear the doors upstairs open and slam and stuff. Sometimes it gets real hectic, and then there's like a week can go by and I won't see or hear nothing.
Let me ask you a question, Venture. I know the attic is hot. Of course, everybody knows that. So, have you ever felt like coat spots or shadows up there?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, you go up in my attic and it could be 80 degrees outside, and you're gonna freeze your balls off, man. I'm gonna tell you, it's bad. It's bad up there.
Wow.
You know?
Oof,
that is wild.
Yeah, I can't even begin to other than a psychic medium or a priest.
Yeah, true. Like,
that's it. That's something I got a priest. I talked to someone at the Catholic diocese, and I asked them if they would come bless my house for me. I gave them my address, and they said they're not coming anywhere near this place. They gave me the lowdown on. That's how I found out most of the history on the house.
Surprises my mind.
They blessed me before I left the church, but they would not come to my house because they know of this place. So apparently it's that bad.
I'm sorry, I can't even begin to tell you.
I can't even get no ghost hunters to come check it out. You know. I mean, when I tell them the stories on it, I mean, I live here. I mean, I've never really had no problems. I mean, sure, things move around all the time. I've been pushed. I've been tossed around a few times, and I get used to it, you know? They're trying to get I'm letting them. Lately, it hasn't happened because it's kind of like they know I'm not going anywhere. They haven't scared me, so, you know, so it was like, you know, I mean, I've had chairs thrown at me, my couches were moving. You know, I never caught any of that stuff on video. Every time I put the video up trying to catch it, then it stops. You know, it's like, so they're intelligent. They know what I'm trying to do. You know?
I'm surprised that remember I was saying earlier about spirits visiting you in dreams and stuff like that. I'm surprised that they haven't visited you in your dreams.
Well, I'm sure they have. I'm
Yeah.
sure they have, but they know I don't scare easy, so it's like
You keep up.
So,
They're just going to keep up in the ante until they figure out what does. What
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. Well, if they get hold of my ex-wife now, my ex-wife scares the shit out of me. But
Who doesn't? Right? Wow. Now, I don't know if anybody of y'all ever been to a haunted forest before. I know White Wolf has. He lives in the boonies, so I don't know if he's still there or not. Have y'all guys ever seen like anything like in the wooded areas, like any kind of weird things? Like I want to say with earth elementals. I don't want to say it wrong, but there he is, White Wolf. I know he's seen some stuff.
Yeah.
I have a picture somewhere of an apparition going up and down my stairs. That was in broad daylight.
Oh wow!
I caught that. Yeah, I got an actual picture of it somewhere in my phone or one of my memory cards.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
The thing is one. This is actually my boss's house. I just kind of stay here, because I work for him. So, but I stay here alone. And one of the guys that I worked with, who did maintenance, he ended up dying. He OD'd on some kind of drug or something, something like that. Anyway, when I see that apparition and I'm looking close at the picture, it looks just like him. He used to hang out here before I lived there. He used to hang out here all the time. So it's like, and it was shortly after he died is when I seen the apparition. So it's like, but I could make it out to look like him. Of course, I can make the apparition out to look like anybody too. So it's like,
yeah, your mind. It's called your mind can do that. Like the phenomena of pareidolia, for example, where your mind tries to make a face out of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. It's funny that your brain plays tricks on you on stuff like that because you see things and your mind tends to go toward the familiar.
Yeah. I could do a video of my house every day and pick up orbs like mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I did one video where my TV wasn't even on, and there was a face in my TV, and I caught that on film. I got that on my SD card somewhere.
Nice.
I got.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick. How are you doing, buddy? I'm also seeing a trend of people that committed like stronger crimes. They are damned to the place they did it.
Referring to suicide. Yeah.
Well, with that, I know that those people committed crimes, and is what I don't get is okay. They committed the crimes, they go to jail, right? And the spirits stay there because they're trapped there, right? Sort of like, and then whenever I want to say whenever they die or get electrocuted or whatever happens to them, do they stop them from leaving? Do they stop the spirits from leaving, or do they torment the? I know I've seen stories where they torment the people they killed on property.
There's a lot of that. You hear that certain spirits keep others from leaving, from moving on, you hear a lot of that. We've had some places where we think we might be running into that. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm speaking out of school because we don't know. But there are real theories about, if spirits who are negatively intentioned, keeping innocent, maybe children's spirits, for example. Oppression is the word I'm looking for. Those kind of things going on. There's a real movement behind that way of thinking. And there's been a lot of evidence I've seen in terms of, people catching stuff that would lead you to think that that's what's going on.
Exactly.
I've got something for you. I've got 2 cats, and both my cats, every time, just before activity happens, they meow and purr and everything like crazy. They're the best PKE meters I got. Yeah, they're the best PKE meters I got, man. I'm serious.
No, you're right, and no,
they will let me know. Trust me, they get crazy, and then right after they get crazy, the activity starts. So, and sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's just very minor. I see black shadows all the time. So it's like, you know.
Well, can I ask you a question about that? Black shadows. I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, black shadows are so bad." You know what I mean? Like, when you see a black shadow, Life Adventures, do you have a weird feeling when you see it, like cold spots or maybe
You know,
they, man?
every time I see it, I'll be sitting there looking at the phone. I'll be looking at TV. It'll go like right over the top of my head and right down the wall, up one side of the wall, up the other. And I'd be looking around and see where the cats are because I think maybe it was the cats passing in front of the light. But the cats be laying, both cats be laying right next to me at the time, and there's no light behind me to cast that shadow. And I mean, I'm so used to it. I don't really, I don't really get. I do at times. There are a few times where I get a cold chill when I see them, and then there's times where it's whatever, It's I just like I'm so used to it. It doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
Well, you get desensitized to that kind of stuff after a while.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you still see it. You're still like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But it's like, then after a while, it's like, you try to make yourself comfortable with it if you're not comfortable with it,
What other choice do you have?
Yeah, I know. I mean, right now I've got no other place to go, so it's like, I got to deal with it some way.
Wow, that's wild. Like, I mean, to actually wake up and see a shadow maybe bending over and try to touch you, and not like that, but try to touch you and stuff like that.
I have felt things tug at my shirt. I've had things tug at my hair while I'm sleeping. My hair stood up like this. I felt it stand up. I thought it was cats. Cats were down at the end of the bed, and I'm like, I woke up at 3:00 in the morning the other morning. I swore I heard two men having a conversation outside my window. I opened the curtain. There's no one standing there. So I figured maybe I was dreaming. Okay, so I tried to go back to sleep, and as I'm laying there trying to go back to sleep, the conversation starts up. Now I don't know what they were talking about, but now it sounded like it was right inside my room. So it's like, well, that's weird. That's weird. I turned my camera on to see if I can catch something. I couldn't catch nothing. So it's like, who knows? I get all kinds of crazy activity here.
So it's just like basically going back to like when you see the cats and everything. So it's like animal spirits, sort of like, you know what I mean?
How could be.
Um,
I believe animals have souls. I don't know. A lot of people do. I'm one of those guys. I think a dog, a cat, all animals have souls. That's just me though.
Well, I mean, how about ants? How about cockroaches? And no, I know. I was talking to someone about it.
I think they're animals.
Well, then you get into the idea of conscious awareness and what defines a soul, and that's way more metaphysical than I'm willing to get at 9:30 p.m. on a
Saturday. Best PKE meter ever, right here.
Oh yeah, pets can sense it. They can absolutely sense it.
Yeah. Ain't that right, Pepper? Yeah.
NDE, show a person leaving the body and hurried to a dark place by their nurses or doctors, seemingly not a good place.
I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, that's cool. Watch this. We're gonna see a shadow. Cool. That's one thing. I really want to because there was one time I woke up and I was waking up my mom, and all of a sudden there was a shadow in the kitchen. I mean, I just ignored it because I thought, you know what, this is gonna hurt me. I'm just gonna go back to my room, and I didn't feel no cold spots, no nothing. It was in the daytime. I seen it. It was like leaking down, like in the kitchen part. And I mean, it still kind of makes me think, why didn't it kind of reach out to me? You know what I mean? Or why couldn't it just, hey, turn at me? Oh no, hell no! I would just run into the room and be like, shut the door. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have experience one day. But yeah, Kennedy, look at your eyes. What's up? How are you doing?
Yeah, I can't see the chat, so I don't know what's being said.
Oh, they're just talking. They're just. I'll put that one up.
That's for that. I'm doing good. And then if you go, what was that
That's
one? This
good.
one? Now these ones are the base.
I'm guessing you're off today.
This is the same way. Oh yeah, $299 or $249 for the base. That's what he was saying.
The place, you know what? Like, I mean, what's one
That's-
place you? I think you were just at the bucket list, but do you ever want to go international?
Me?
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but not in this existence we're currently in. You know, yes, but at the same time, why cross an ocean when there's about 1 million places in the northeastern U.S. to see first? You know, it's but you know, I mean, the it's a whole different experience from a paranormal standpoint when you get out to Europe and into the Middle East and Asia and Britain and all that stuff, because those civilizations have been there so much longer than we have. And there's some definite, you know, Ireland, for example, the whole concept of the Celtics and all that stuff, and it's infinitely fascinating. But I don't think we'll be crossing the ocean anytime soon. We've had to delay enough over the last year that we've wanted to do here. It's going to take us a little bit to get through our list before we consider that. But I mean, you know, anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible. It's like sort of like schools, haunted schools, you know, like kid. That's what I'm talking about. Like if you're gonna die, like a teenager, are they more? You think they'll go back into the school and haunt?
No, if I died as a teenager, I don't think I'd go to school. But at the same time, I mean, again, as I said before, we talked about beaches. Anywhere can be haunted for any reason, and just because there's a school there now doesn't mean A, it was always a school, or B, there was a school there years and years ago. So sometimes we catch activity from places that existed before the current structure is there. For example, Bull's Head Inn, Cobleskill, New York. It was built. It's the oldest building in that part of New York, 1802. But before that was there was a building there that was burned down 3 times by Native American tribes, and they've seen spirits of Native Americans in there. But they weren't around when they weren't going there in 1802, but they occupied that area before the building was built. But yet that building has had reports of Native American spirits. So it's not about what exists there now. It's about what existed there then.
Yeah, exactly. What do you
I've
think? No, go ahead. I think
I've got a question for you, Orange County. When you do your paranormal investigation and you do it outside, and do you ever do it in a wooded area?
Oh, yeah.
We have to an extent. We actually were planning to do much more of one to an extent, but a foot of snow got in our way. There's challenges with anything outside because everything gets contaminated so easily. But
the reason I ask is because by nature I'm a cryptozoologist.
Mm-hmm.
So I study animals that scientists have yet to admit are here. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And Sasquatch and stuff like that. I've seen them several times, and I was with a paranormal group while I was doing Sasquatch hunting. They believe that Sasquatch is paranormal. Do you believe that, or have you any experience with that?
I have very little experience with that, and I actually don't know much about it. I'm sorry to say. I will say one of the things we do when we investigate outdoor areas, wooded or otherwise, we use a lot of trail cameras. Which I'm sure you're very familiar with, because they have that vision. And we have picked up some good stuff, both indoors and outdoors, because, you know, in a wooded area, that's a 360-degree area where when you're in a room, you can kind of back up against a wall and see everything. So we use a lot of that different kind of to cover our backs. But I don't know a whole lot about the whole Sasquatch, Bigfoot mythology. It's interesting. I just don't know much about it.
Yeah.
How about
Sorry,
how about alien UFOs? Sorry. I'm sorry, live connections you were saying? I'm sorry.
I don't. I didn't really get into paranormal until I moved into this house. Then I started getting into the paranormal because it's here, it's around me every day. You know, so it's like
you don't have to leave.
Yeah.
You just walk out of your bed. You just walk into your house and you got it. I'm not envious of the situation, but I'm all envious of not having to drive 3 hours to investigate something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Trust me, you can sit here, put up your camera, and investigate 24/7.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's like one of the things about us is we're called Orange County, New York Paranormal. We've actually never physically done an investigation in Orange County. We investigated all around Orange County. The owner of Grapevine joked that when we got our wooden sign back here, we misspelled Schoharie County because we've done so much in Schoharie County, New York, which is a county outside of Albany, but we haven't yet to investigate physically in Schoharie, in Orange County, which has become a running joke. I've been to New Hope, Pennsylvania in terms of the town. We haven't done anything there to answer a comment that was on the chat there.
Okay. And here's another one.
Oh yeah, Delaware River, because there's a lot of history there. Revolutionary War history. That's why we like Albany upstate so much too, because there's a lot of that too. And Beth, yes, Schoharie has a ton going on, and it seems like we're there all the time, and we love it up there. But yeah, the Delaware, for the same reason that Schoharie is active, a lot of strife and war and conflict, which is ripe for paranormal activity. We haven't done much along it, but when the world opens up, the world is our oyster.
Right.
Alton, Illinois. Alton, Illinois.
Alton?
Have you heard? Illinois.
You're cool, man.
No, I haven't. I've only ever been to Illinois for professional reasons, and it was mostly Chicago.
Go Google Alton, Illinois when you get a chance. It'll blow your mind.
I'm writing
You
it
like
down.
Paranormal? Pike Mansion. It'll blow your mind.
Cool. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Have you ever been near someone that got possessed while you were in an investigation?
No, the closest, I mean, what the closest we get to that is, occasionally you get overwhelmed. You start the investigation and you get bum rushed. Like sometimes you'll turn on a communication equipment. If you've been there before, they know you can talk to them. They know you can hear them through your equipment, and they'll all come running to you to talk. And one time, my wife got very much just the energy just out of her, drained completely. I actually took her outside for a little bit. We walked around for like 10 minutes so she could recover from that. But no, nothing in terms of possession or anything like that. That too gets a little over dramatized sometimes, I think, but it can happen. And it's a dangerous thing when it does, but it's not something we run into a whole lot.
How about alien? How about, like I was saying, how about UFOs, aliens? What do you think about them? And that kind of.
I've never seen anything to tell me that they don't exist. And when you do what we do, you have to keep an open mind. I don't study it much. Big Star Trek fan growing up, but I don't study it much. I'm not looking to be abducted, but it's a fascinating thing. It's interesting how paranormal, the Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, how we all kind of got bunched together in this paranormal thing. And it's interesting because it does kind of make sense when you think about it. That it gets bunched together like that. It's all endlessly fascinating. I haven't, Sasquatch and UFOs are not something I've really looked into like in depth yet, but they are interesting.
I was going on a ghost. Okay, like it's kind of silly, but have you ever been on a ghost expedition? Before, like, let's say you're in a car, like let's say you're on a bus and they're showing you around like every location,
like a ghost tour kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have not. I know my wife has, like through like Gettysburg and stuff like that. I've never done much. I tend to stay away from I tend to not like the really well-known haunted areas that do stuff like that. I like to do the obscure stuff that's off the map a little bit.
Yeah.
But those are interesting. There's a lot of it's not for the spiritual side of it. It's the history. When you do a tour like that, the history is so rich and you learn so much. It's almost better than where there's the haunted spots they're showing you, from what she's told me. Just the stories you hear and the history that you learn.
Exactly.
We're all everybody who does this is just we're all history buffs. We just want to talk directly to the history instead of read it out.
Did you ever want to like travel to like Hollywood or something like that to investigate anything that's out there?
It's all fascinating. It's funny. My wife and I were talking about this the other day. If we went we'd have to drive there. You couldn't fly with all this equipment we have. So we'd have to drive across the Atlantic. But no, the Hollywood's interesting. There's a lot of, again, though, you could go out there all you want, but good luck getting access to some of those places.
Wow, bet. Yeah, true. And probably they're more expensive too.
I can't even begin to imagine. Everything's more expensive in California.
Exactly. Life is getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, like I know they have like camps and stuff like that. They're saying that they're haunted and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy. Anything could be haunted, like you said. Anything can.
Well, they say even the Hollywood sign is haunted because an actress committed suicide there in the late 20s. You'd never be able to investigate without getting shot, but still, they say that it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Three Souls. Isn't it amazing? Like, it's amazing how you become obsessed with the history is almost more interesting than the spirits. And they're so hand in hand that you learn so much. And I completely agree. I was always into history, but I become more into local history because of it, because I know more about Cobleskill, New York than I ever thought I would ever know. And it's because we've investigated there a bunch of times and have learned so much of the history. So Three Souls made it that you highlighted the comment. I was responding to their comment.
Exactly. Have you ever tried the blind method? Like, where you blind yourself and there's another person that's hearing. I can't remember.
It's hard enough to see in the dark, man. I don't get cute.
I know. I always.
No, but that's not that theory has validity. If you numb one sense, the others become more powerful. That's what they say about people who can't hear. They can see. People who cannot see can hear better. There's scientific backing to that idea. So the idea of blindfolding yourself to hear better, it's interesting. When we review audio evidence, we actually close our eyes. Because we hear it better for some reason. You just can really engage yourself in audio. So I trip over anything as it is with two eyes open in the dark. So I'm not going to do that, but there's validity to what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's pretty interesting though. I know a lot of people have done it or some. Evergreen.
Squirrel Hill.
Where's that at?
That's Pittsburgh.
Oh wow.
My mother currently lives in the Oakmont area, which is just outside of Pittsburgh. So I grew up in Western PA, very familiar with it all. Very cool. A lot of history out there too. We just didn't start doing this till after I moved to New York.
I got a question. If you got if you have a spirit that's trying to communicate with you through your spirit box or your obelisk, but they don't have enough energy, can you put one of those
EM pump?
A static maker, plug it in and put the energy in the air so it can speak? Or
you can. We have a couple. My wife says it's cheating to me whenever I use it, but we have these things called EM pumps. And you turn them on and they pump electromagnetic energy into the air. And if you put a millimeter on it, it can be 150 milligauss. And you can really prime. I call it priming the pump. My wife calls it cheating. We have actually had, hey, if we're picking up faint energy or we're not getting anything solid, we'll drop one of those down and turn it on and see if anything happens. We haven't had a ton of success with it, but we have got a more intense activity. But the thing with that is you feel that. You pump 300 milligauss into a room and your body's going to feel it. So you can't do it for too long because you'll feel like you're like on a caffeine rush or something. There's so much energy. It's an intense feeling of claustrophobia is the best way I can describe it. But it does work. Yeah, EM pumps, and they're relatively inexpensive too. So we actually, which is refreshing for the paranormal world. So we do have a couple of them. And when my wife isn't looking, I use them because she doesn't like them.
Right. How about doppelganger? Gangler. Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. God, there's so many interesting ideas. I feel bad for the spirit who wants to look like me, but if they but yeah, I mean that whole idea, that whole double spirit, which is that old the German. I think that has German roots because doppelganger is a German word.
Mhm.
That's fascinating. I've only seen it really talked about on the TV shows will talk about it occasionally.
Mhm.
Again, I wish I had time to read up on all the stuff I would love to read up on. But that's interesting. We've never had a location where that's been something that's been speculated to be there. But that's interesting. So it's a. Okay, I thought he was commenting on that.
Totally sure.
True, true.
Well, I had one person.
You can get energy from anything.
There's one YouTuber that said, "Yeah, when I was clearing the chest off of my drawers, laying on my back, the pillows came off the bed and hit me."
Oh, okay.
You didn't see it on there. It's on private message. They don't want to.
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, it's just like one time, like I was sitting here, and like my bed rail it's brown or what it would, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there, and my deodorant is right behind me, and it flies at me. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even move anything. I
Spirit
mean,
must make you smell.
yeah, you're like, hey, put some deodorant now. No. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean,
Again, don't look at what is if things happen the way we don't look at it as we don't necessarily look at what was moved, how hard was it moved, whatever. It's getting your attention. We don't go from a place of they wanted to kill you with your deodorant. No, they wanted to get your attention.
and they always want to get my attention. I don't know what that is.
All I know is that was what Gozer was, that Mesopotamian and Sumerian. That's the only thing I know about.
I mean,
like the fourth time I've referenced Ghostbusters tonight. I guess it makes sense. I have all the figures behind me. It is one of my favorites.
Right? You know what though? Like, I mean, like when I was at the grocery store one time and I was walking, there was no one in the aisle, and it kept every single time. Even people say, "Man, that bread keeps on flying off the shelf," and how? Because it's flat, and it just comes off every single time. Like, I mean, who can want to die and like become a spirit at the store? You know. But I mean, yeah, like I don't think I ever want to come back and haunt somebody. But I heard like a lot of stories that you just go in the black void, and
well, that's based on what your personal belief system is. I always tell my wife she can kill me if she's ever mad enough to me to kill me, it doesn't matter. I've got 9 things in my office that I can bother her with after I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay. Do you have any items that you brought from of any investigation? It's okay. I know you can't, but like let's say a place that you can't get in or anything, like an abandoned place. Have you ever brought anything home?
I don't go to places we're not supposed to be.
Okay.
I mean, mainly has to do with not wanting a criminal record.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not afraid of the spirits there. I just don't feel like getting arrested. It's hard enough to go to the places we're allowed to be, let alone we're not.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
I mean, we don't take much of anything, even from the places we go. Like the angel ornament was given to us as a gift. The doll back here it was a gift from another location that we investigated. Stuff like that. So it's just. So we bring stuff, but we try not to, we never take anything, because if you take something you're not allowed to take, you might bring more home with you than just the souvenir. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Man, I wonder who's gonna, what sports are on now these days? I don't even watch sports.
No, just, this thing is so immensely time consuming that we don't do much of anything except where are we going? What are we doing? Where did we go? Review the evidence, make the video. Next. My wife hates it when we premiere a video because I'll look at her the minute it's over and say, what's next?
Yeah. Okay. How long does it take for you to edit a video?
The evidence review process, depending on the location, will take anywhere from 30 to 35 hours. We use a lot of cameras. But editing a video start to finish, I've gotten better at it because I review evidence now with the video in mind a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way to look at it, back when I was in college and we made videos that weren't paranormal, it was every minute is an hour. So on but that's not quite like a 22-minute video that we make doesn't take me 22 hours now. It probably takes 12 to 14. And that's with voiceover, musical effect, evidence, making the evidence so you can hear it. Like we're all using these like noise canceling headphones and stuff when we review evidence. When we make a video, I have to make it so you can hear it on the same computer speakers you're listening to me talk right now.
It's okay, Kennedy.
Oh, well, that's so annoying, isn't it? When it happens and you don't record it or you don't have it, it's the most annoying thing in the world. It makes me when the door closed behind me in our last investigation and the camera wasn't working, I seriously wanted to just I was so mad.
Right. I think that would be annoying. I mean, just to catch something.
The video process takes a long time. But it's good. But that's what you have to do. I mean, a lot of these businesses that we do get access to, they want the video. They want the proof. They want it for their own purposes. Jim, God rest his soul, at the Worcester Inn, one of the reasons he gave, when we went to investigate his place, we rented one room. He goes, no, here's keys to 4 other ones that are haunted, because he wanted to see if he could drum up business on the fact that that building was so haunted, and no paranormal group had ever really done anything thorough. And it worked, by the way. He was getting a lot of reservations for those haunted rooms after that. So that video is an important part of what we do, because it helps the businesses. It allows us to partner with the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it also allows us to show off some professionalism to other places that maybe wouldn't have us come in if we didn't have a website, a YouTube, like all the groups have that are on here. All the social media stuff and the videos, it all is a package, because access is the hardest thing. So the extra work that goes into creating something that looks at least a little bit professional, I like to think our videos are a little bit professional at least, will help us with all of this. And that's why you do it. I mean, we're not going there, I don't particularly care for YouTube that much. I don't do this for YouTube. I do this for me. We do this for us. But everything serves a purpose. One thing leads to another. There's a direct connection between the first investigations we've done and the latest investigations, because you get discovered through the different places. And that's how whatever. I mean, we're a gnat on the windshield of the paranormal community, but whatever little thing we have built off of that. Exactly.
So what do you think about haunted dolls? Like,
I have a phobia of dolls and mannequins.
Should have said that.
No. And we investigated a place called Miss Fanny's Victorian Party House, which she called it. Interesting decoration. She has a coffin in her living room, but she has life-size mannequins and dolls. She has a life-size Annabelle doll, and that place freaked me out because it's the eyes that bother me. The eyes on the mannequins. It's just been something my whole life. It has nothing to do with paranormal. That's why that doll's back there, actually, because I have a phobia of it, and I wanted to keep one in my office. It's not haunted or anything, but I keep it there because it helps me with that. That place drove me crazy, because everywhere you turn, the videos on our channels, it's nuts. If you going in knowing I have a phobia of that video, it's funny. My wife looked at me and was like, "Oh, this ain't looking so good for you." When we got there, because there's a life-size Michael Myers next to the toilet. I mean, of course, where would you put your Michael Myers? I mean, and every time I opened the door to the attic, its figure was in front of a window, and the ambient light would show this big, dark, human-shaped shadow. I jumped every single time. Pedro still makes fun of me because I jumped every single time I saw it. But yeah, dolls. There's a lot of evidence about dolls harboring spirits, and the dolls, mannequins and dolls are a phobia I have. I tried to deal with it. Miss Fanny's helped me a lot with that. I'm a lot less afraid of it than I used to be. But that makes my skin crawl a little bit.
I know, me too. Cause I'm just like, can you imagine that?
The Annabelle doll was originally Raggedy Ann.
Yes, the original. Yeah, the Annabelle doll from the movie is the one she has. But yeah, it was a Raggedy Ann doll. And then there's Robert the doll, which is freaky.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. My daughter loves the story of Robert the doll. She's obsessed with
it. Then there's Chucky.
Oh, Chucky. Yeah, that's my Bob. Bride. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
It's getting late when we're referencing Chucky.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm about to end this in 8 minutes, so man, it's
it's only 9 o'clock here, so.
That's
Yeah,
true. I'm in Eastern time zone. That's what. Yeah.
same here. Did you guys want to share each other's channels? So what do you have coming up?
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, um, well, because of COVID and because of my wife's ankle surgery, we actually don't have any investigations planned for March. She's doing better, but we have some things brewing for April. I'm not able to talk about it yet because when it comes to these places, I like to make sure the location's good with it.
Mhm.
We do have an investigation coming up, then we're doing a follow-up event at a place called Hyde Hall, which is in Cooperstown, New York. We're really excited about that. Ghost Hunters did their Halloween special there a few years ago. We're doing Grapevine Farms again. We're doing our events there. We're working on something to do for the month of October. Paintings drive me crazy too, White Wolf. Same idea, the eyes. But we do have some really cool stuff. I mean, we're basically in our schedule booked with investigations April through October. But I really can't talk much about it. The next video we're probably going to do is probably going to one of our favorite locations, a place called the Worcester Inn. I've referenced it a couple times. The owner passed away. I'm probably going to do a compilation video of like the greatest hits, if you will, from that, just as a tribute to him, because Jim, if it wasn't for Jim, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. Jim was the first owner who said, wow, I like what you guys are doing. Here's 4 keys to 4 other rooms you didn't even rent tonight because I really want to see what you guys come up with.
Yes.
It wasn't going well when we got to Worcester. And we actually said, if this doesn't go well, we might have to reconsider doing this and just go back to what we were doing, because the first investigation was a dud. The second one, Emily got shoved down the stairs. It wasn't going well.
Wow.
So I may put out a little bit of a tribute kind of thing to Worcester. And then we got some stuff brewing for April. I know the Hyde Hall stuff's coming. We got Grapevine. We're going up there on the anniversary of David's death and investigate up there to see if, he won't, if I show up, he won't do anything, but he might for Emily. But we got a lot of stuff brewing. I wish I could talk more in depth about it, but I can't, unfortunately, because I haven't, until I've got it on the calendar and the location says, yeah, you can say something. I'm not gonna, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but we do have stuff coming up. COVID, hopefully there's a light at the end of this tunnel in terms of COVID-19. Vaccinations numbers seem to be going down. So hopefully we'll get back to business as usual pretty soon. Because last year has been a challenge for everybody in the world, and including paranormal investigators.
Exactly.
And by the way, I've noticed my YouTube's been lighting up. I will resubscribe and comment back to all of you. We've been doing this. I appreciate all the support and everything.
No
I obviously have been doing this, so I haven't been on it, but I appreciate you've reached out during this. It's been a lot of fun interacting with you guys.
Yeah, same. I appreciate you coming up, man. I mean, it's an honor. You tell us
we're way smaller than you think we are. If you're saying it's an honor for us,
it is. I mean, I appreciate it.
We appreciate you hosting us and everything. It's good. I appreciate what you're doing, giving smaller paranormal groups like us the chance to talk to people on a national stage. So we appreciate the invitation. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And all of you for your experiences, your questions. It's always fun to meet new people. So thank you.
Exactly. What about you, like Avengers? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can ask questions.
It was really nice meeting you, Orange County, because I've never really talked to anybody who was really into it like you are. All these other YouTubers, I hate to say it, they're just kind of a little stagey,
Yeah.
It's stage run, so it's like,
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. We try to know what we talk about, even though you can only know so much in this field because so much of it is not understood.
I mean, I'll admit they know some of what they're talking about, but a lot of stuff is, pretty much put on. So,
Yeah, Beth, you're not far away.
Huh?
Oh, Beth commented that she's not too far away from us. Sorry, I was responding.
Okay.
I'm upset. I watched the comments too, and it's like I keep trying.
I know.
My game I'm playing is I'm trying to beat Eli, but I'm trying to answer it before he posts it. I've been trying to beat him all night. That's the game.
Right.
Right.
A little intellectual chaos.
I know, right?
Yeah, I got. Hopefully, I've got some more haunted videos coming up on my channel. I mean, this COVID has really shut things down, so I can't really move around. And usually, where I go Sasquatch hunting is on a guy's private land, but the area around him is closed down, and his wife is like really sketchy about the whole COVID thing. So me going out there isn't even all right now.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully we're getting through that.
Yeah.
Our mouth to God's ears. I mean, I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy because this has been unprecedented. So,
Exactly.
oh, Beth, that is a little further, North Carolina. A little further, a little warmer though, so it's good.
Right.
I live just outside Chicago in Rockford,
Mhm.
but have you been to Resurrection Cemetery in Chicago?
No, but I've heard of it.
Oh man, I actually been there. I wasn't YouTubing at the time, but I've seen some shit that'll make your hair grow, man.
Chicago has some amazingly famous. But it's fun. I stopped going there professionally, and before I got into all this, I wish I had known more.
Doors.
Oh man, I'm to tell you, there's some buildings there that some museums and stuff. You just ask them if you can do a ghost hunt there. A lot of times, some of those museums will let you.
It's interesting. You were right about that. We've been shocked by some of the places who've went, yeah, sure. What? Like I expect. My wife sends this has like it's not a form letter, but it's essentially an email that she just sends out. And some places we never thought in a million years have been like, oh yeah, let's talk. And other places we thought would be okay, they're like, yeah, sure, $1,200 for the night. Huh, okay.
Yeah. All the places that you pay to go.
I know, right, Doris?
You don't get a thing. But if they want you to come, they give you like you do it for free. It seems like you get all the good stuff, you know.
Well, the thing I don't like about it is you're just another group to these places. Like I love Hillview Manor means so much to me, and that investigation will always have a special place in my heart. But we were just another group to them. They didn't care about what we found. I had to submit the video to them before I posted it. They never wrote me back. They were just another group. By the time that video came out, 20 other groups had been through that place. But when we go to a place like a Worcester Inn, a Grapevine Farms, a Bull's Head Inn, the owners are like, when are you going to come back and show it to us? And then we show it to them and they get so excited. And they're like, what do you think it is? Oh my goodness, how can we do this? How can we do more? That's when you build the relationship, the partnership. And when you really can deep dive in with the people who exist every day in the location, that's when you're paranormal investigating.
Amen.
Amen.
Right? Yeah, no, I wish I had pizza, man, but no.
I ran out of soda, so you better wrap this thing up.
Dr. Pepper.
I drank about 48 ounces of soda while we were talking.
I mean, I'm bad at soda too. I have to stop that. Hey, what's up, Rose? Or Kennedy? How's it going?
How you doing, Rose?
Yeah, that's my middle name, by the way.
Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't know that. Well, guys, I'm gonna go to end this, guys. So I got to do some stuff, but.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. It's been really nice meeting everybody, talking with you all. I will respond back when I get to my computer here because I know there's been a lot of activity. But thank you all. Eli, thank you so much for having us. We'll continue talking, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Thank you, everybody. It's been really nice meeting all of you. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, man.
Nice meeting you too, buddy.
Nice meeting you. It's nice meeting you all. And thanks, Eli.
You're welcome. Anytime, brother.
Okay, I'm out.
Have a good night, everybody.
But I appreciate it, guys, for y'all coming and supporting Orange County, New York Paranormal. And thank you for being a part of our journey and letting us be a part of yours. And we'll see you on Tuesday. And God bless you and have a good night.
Take care, everybody. Thank you again.
You too.